like, they're like, yeah, Sue's going to come down to you. I was like, can she come to the benches? So someone comes and brings Sue Bird.
And people know how difficult that is. That is so difficult to get a human down to in between the benches during a game.
Listen and follow In the Crease wherever you get your podcast.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, happy Monday. No, scratch that. It's just a Monday. Slight happy, slight sad, whatever. It's a Monday, but it's a good Monday for Kev Nash over here. Kev, how was your weekend?
Oh, it was excellent. Buckeyes won, Steelers won. It's a good weekend, man. My high school won their first playoff game ever. We returned a fumble with 7 seconds left on the clock to win the game on Friday night. Centerville won. You know, my nephew plays for them. You know, it was a great sports weekend, man.
It actually was. You hear the black and yellow in the background. That's, of course, shout out to the Steelers screaming at the Browns. What a disaster Cleveland is right now. I'm not taking anything away from that Steelers win because the Steelers, it'd be one thing if the Steelers had only one win or no wins on the season and then beat the Browns, but the Steelers have just won 3 straight. They don't do it pretty. I was telling Kev before the show started, I said that the Pittsburgh Steelers are probably the second best team in the AFC North, and they're the least talented team in the AFC North. They are the least talented, but they are probably, and I hesitate to say the best team, but they when I say by team, they play team football. While I sit here and talk about injuries and, quality over quantity and blah, 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 shoulders, labrums, OBJ's shoulder, I talk about all of that. At the end of the day, Pittsburgh has way more issues than the Bengals, way more issues than the Browns, way more issues than the Ravens. And I'm not even just talking from an injury standpoint, just overall roster construction, just overall dealing with an aged quarterback. So many things. I mean, there's no excuse for why the Steelers should be winners of 3 straight, beating the Browns, everything that's been going on. There's no excuse. The Cleveland Browns, that was just a disaster on their part. Kev, I'm not even here to take shots at your team. It is what it is. Mike Tomlin, they're the team that you hate, but you can't sit there and say that they don't do it the right way. They do it the right. Well, I think they're a dirty team, but that's besides the point. Every team's dirty. It's just a matter of, the Steelers, we'd like to pinpoint it, point it out a little bit more. But that was a mess. And then, of course, the Bengals yesterday. Look, bottom line is today, I'm not in the mood for smack talk today. I know people look forward to that. You can't wait to tune in to see what I'm going to say about the Bengals, what I'm going to say about the Browns. You want to know why yesterday felt normal, Kev?
What's up?
I don't know if you believe in football gods or not. But if there is such thing as football gods, I think that football god got tired of me. I think he got tired of you Bengals fans. He got tired of us Browns fans. And he said, it's time for me as football god to remind you who the heck I am and who the heck you are. And for the first time in years, Kev, I felt like football was back to normal because the Browns fans were chirping at the Bengals fans, and the Bengals fans were chirping at the Browns fans. And it had nothing to do with first place, playoffs, our quarterback's better than your quarterback. It was simply our loss was not as bad as your loss. That to me is old school Browns Bengals. That's what I grew up with. I grew up with the Browns fans yelling at Bengals fans yelling at Browns fans, and us just arguing over who looked more pathetic. Yesterday, it was just nostalgia. It was a lot of nostalgia. The Bengals losing in embarrassing fashion against a horrible team, and then the Browns looking like complete dog crap. And the Steelers winning. It was just complete nostalgia for me. And then after all the games, we're sitting here. I mean, Bengals fans didn't miss a beat because their game ended before the Browns, and they knew they were about to take a whooping from the fans. So they started chirping right away about, comments from the basement, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, Bengals fans, I think we just need to call a truce, at least for today, after this weekend. Because I don't know which loss was worse. We could debate that, but let's be honest. You fans need to shut your mouth. I need to shut mine. There's nothing to chirp about today because Bengals fans, Browns fans, our teams, we embarrassed the National Football League yesterday. That was bad. And Kev, I'm not sliding your team. I promise when I say this. Like, the Browns should have, if the Browns live up to who they are, they should have won. If the Steelers are who they should be, they should lose. But the thing is, the Steelers are a great franchise. They're a great team. Not a super talented team, but they do the right things. Well, the Browns beat themselves and they embarrassed themselves, and the Bengals embarrassed themselves yesterday. And they reminded everybody why people were making fun of them so bad because they had one good win and for how long, and they thought they arrived. And then they got put back in their place. I'm telling you, I don't know if you believe in football gods, but football gods spoke yesterday. And he laughed. His favorite song is Black and Yellow, and his favorite chant is JETS, 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 Jets. So all hail the football god. You win. And I have nothing today, man. I have no energy. I'm just blah. But like I said, yesterday was nostalgia. Bengals, Browns fans yelling at each other over whose loss was worse, and the Steelers winning, and the Browns in last place. Lots of nostalgia for me.
You know, for me on Saturday, me and my buddies, we got together, had a game night and everything like that to watch the Ohio State game. And we're talking about the Steelers and Browns game and everything like that. It's like, so I know y'all won a couple in a row. Why don't y'all just chalk it? Just tank, try to get a high draft pick. I was like, dude, you and I both know the Steelers is not going to do that. They might lose, but they're not going to lose on purpose. They're not going to just bench everybody just because. Like, they're just not. It's like, but it's stupid. You got to do this. I'm like, I know. I probably would, but you got to play it out to see what happens before you start benching dudes. And as soon as the game hit 000, it's like, I can't believe y'all won that game. Like, how can y'all win without a kicker? I was like, yo, we won without a kicker. The quarterback, honestly, Ben played a lot better than I thought he was going to play. You know, coming off the bye week, you know, maybe he got rest or something like that. The offensive line played a lot better than I thought they would. But ultimately, it's about the defense, man. It's about the defense. It's going to be about the defense if the Steelers are going to do anything this season. It's really going to be how far can the defense carry it.
That's how they won with Mason Rudolph a few years ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't the offense. It's that damn defense.
Yeah, you got to be able, 15 points and you win an NFL game in 2021, that's really unheard of. So kudos to the black and yellow. I'm a happy camper.
I ain't giving kudos to anybody, but I will say this. The Cleveland Browns, I got no chirping to do today. Ain't no excuses. No banged up shoulder excuse, nothing. Like, the Browns are just straight up bad. They're not bad. That's the problem here. Like, that's why I'm getting so ticked off, is because, like, they're not bad. They have talent all over the place. There's a reason that they were Super Bowl contenders coming in. And although injuries have probably impacted the everyday flow with this team as far as getting in any kind of rhythm, from the play calling to the overall effort, to the wide receivers dropping passes. I mean, for those out there who are ripping Baker Mayfield, I'm seeing a lot of analysis of down the stretch, the last two possessions, there was 9 pass plays and six instances where even on completions, you had fumbles, you had mistakes, you had OBJ who was more worried about getting hit than catching the football. There was just mistakes all over the place. That wasn't on Baker Mayfield yesterday. Is he a top 5 quarterback? No. So I'm not going to go into that same spew as yesterday. But when the highest percent, when 2 players that are taking up the majority of your payroll are the least contributing factors yesterday in a must-win game, that's a problem. When Jarvis Landry fumbles when he did late in the game. And by the way, the Browns had a chance to win twice. The last 2 possessions, it was theirs. All they had to do was get in field goal range. Like, they were fine. Well, not field goal range, but they were marching deep into Steeler territory. No excuse. No excuse whatsoever. This isn't injuries. I'm not even going to blame officials. There's no officials. The officials have nothing to do with it. Injuries have nothing to do with yesterday. That was just straight up being crap. That's it. I have nothing. I'm not defending the Browns. It's exhausting. It really is. Because, like, they deserve everything that's said about them this week. Because it's a disaster. The Cincinnati Bengals, your turn. Told you. Like, last week, you guys got so angry at me. I said, that's a great win. But we've never seen the Bengals play like that before. We've never seen the Bengals play as well as they did against the Ravens. We also never saw the Ravens play as poorly as they did than what we saw against the Bengals. So I said, be careful. I warned you. And all you heard was, oh, Kenner's just being a hater. There he goes again, doing his thing, his shtick. That's my favorite. Oh, his shtick is to tell a bad team that they're bad. Yeah, that's my shtick. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. All I warned you was just be careful with all the chirping, because you're not as good as what you looked last week, and the Ravens aren't as bad as what they looked last week. It was just a perfect storm that, resulted in a great result for the Bengals, not just winning, but winning big. So that's all I said. Good win. Enjoy it. You didn't win anything. Success could be erased in 1 week, and it has been. You guys are back to being the embarrassment of the NFL again. That was embarrassing yesterday. The Browns and Bengals both embarrassed the National Football League yesterday, and that includes the league that has the Texans, who every time you check their score and their line, the line heading into every game with the Texans looks like a damn college score or college line coming up, and then the games themselves look like you are watching really bad high school football. So yes, the Browns and Bengals, you both embarrassed the league yesterday, a league that includes the Houston Texans. I'm not holding back punches. You can get mad at me, Bengals fans, all you want, but I'm ripping my team just as much. You two should both be ashamed of yourselves, because here's why. Kev, we should be talking about a battle for first place this coming up Sunday. The Bengals have no excuse to lose to the Jets. None. They lost to the Jets. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed to have a sports radio show in the state of Ohio that has a pro team like that loses to the Jets as an 11.5-point favorite against a backup quarterback. You're embarrassing. Browns, you are embarrassing, because every week we hear, no, man, we're going to work on it. We're going to get better. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then you get worse. You got Nick Chubb. You have one of the best offensive lines in football. Baker Mayfield's not he's no slouch like you guys like to paint him out to be. Supposed to have one of the hottest young coaches in football. He ain't doing his job. The Browns and Bengals, this is exactly why when you guys win, people laugh at you. People mock you. People don't buy into you. There's a reason. I hear all these Bengals players, Browns players, man, it's about time. You better start recognizing who we are. Yeah, there's a lot more where that came from. And then you hold the Steelers to 15 points and still lose. And then you lose to the Jets. You guys, look, today we are one. We are one big pile of well played. So that's where I'm at. I'm angry at both teams because, Kev, you know what I mean? Like, if both teams won like they were supposed to, and there was a better chance of the Browns losing yesterday than the Bengals. But the problem I have is that if the Browns would have lost yesterday, I was waiting for it to be like a high-scoring game. I thought that the Browns were I thought Big Ben would have a good day offensively. I thought that if the Browns lost yesterday, it was going to be because the defense just continuing to, miss assignments and just leave guys wide open. That's not what that was. They did their job. Now, they made a lot of big mental mistakes down the stretch that allowed the Steelers to score. Again, not taking anything away from your team, but like the Browns should have won. They're the more talented team. That's not me talking smack to you, Kev. That's just the reality of it. So the fact that you held them to 15 points and still lost, that you have to try to lose a game giving up 15 points in the National Football League. You have to try losing in college football, only giving up 15 points. That's embarrassing. Then, by the way, if they held the Lions to 15 points and lost, I'd be saying the same thing. It's not really a matter of the caliber of opponent. If they held the Chiefs or the Bucs to 15 points and lost, I'd be saying the same thing, because it's not a matter of the quality of the other team. It's how poor quality of football the Browns are playing. So Browns fans, Bengals fans, you can all hate me all you want. I don't care. You both embarrassed the state of Ohio yesterday. That's all I got to say about that. But we should be talking about the Bengals beating the Jets, being 6-2. The Browns should have beat the Steelers. They were 5-3. This should have been a battle for first place in Cincinnati this Sunday. And now everyone's just mocking us, man. Like it took two to tango yesterday. It took two to embarrass the entire state of Ohio. Yes, you should be. Luckily, we have the Buckeyes. Luckily, Ohio State. Luckily, we have them. Thank goodness we have Ryan Day, according to Mikey, the interim head coach of the Buckeyes. Luckily, we have C.J. Stroud, the worst quarterback in the history of football, who's statistically probably statistically top 3 in football. Luckily, we have those guys, because my goodness, we should have known better. Should have known better. When I was talking last week, Browns-Bengals battle for first, I should have known that I sounded stupid saying that. All right, 518-1410. We're going to open up the phone lines. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. But yeah, I'm not defending nothing. Yesterday was atrocious for both teams. No excuse. None. But 518-1410. Kev, I want you to answer this when we come back as well. 2 bad losses yesterday, but which loss was worse? Every time I start to answer, I start thinking, no, but the other one's really, really bad too. And then me and Keith Byers were going back and forth today about which loss was worse. We couldn't really pinpoint it because both were equally bad. We'll be back. 518-1410. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 54. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy, a low near 36. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 50. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
Did you know that United Healthcare helps connect you to doctors and therapists with 24/7 access to virtual care?
So I could have therapy from my couch?
Yep.
Or a doctor appointment from my car?
If you wanted to.
Wait, you're right. I don't even like when people see me sing in the car. Couch appointment it is. Virtual visits are just one of the ways United Healthcare helps connect you to better health. Learn more at uhc.com. Plan benefits may vary.
From city streets to back roads, from road warrior to carpooler, there are some things you can always count on, like the reliability, durability, and power of DieHard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on DieHard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
Heard you're buying a car. I brought my calculator.
Dad, I already used Capital One Auto Navigator. I found my car online and got pre-qualified instantly, instead of all that.
You know those things impact your credit score.
Didn't impact my credit score, Dad. Now I'm going to the dealership for a test drive and to make the purchase.
Sounds too easy.
No, it's just easy. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/Auto Navigator.
Hustler Turf commercial mowers are built tough to work hard. Whether you need a fleet of mowers or are a one-man show, you don't have time for downtime. Hustler mowers are over-engineered, overbuilt, and tested well beyond what is required, with the most complete lineup in the industry, including exclusives like a 104-inch Super 104, an 88-inch stand-on, and industry-leading warranties. Hustler mowers are ready to handle what you throw at them. Build your fleet to be reliable and versatile with Hustler Turf. Visit Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle today.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Hey, I'm college football Hall of Famer Keith Byers, and I'm here with John Glazier from Glazier Soft Water. Did you know we are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Yes, I did. But did you know that Glazier Soft Water is the home of the 7-year worry-free parts and labor warranty? We've been making water great since 1988. What were you doing in 1988?
That was my third year in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. I had 10 touchdowns that season, and we made the playoffs in 1988.
So you can say that we both have been doing great since 1988. Glazier Soft Water. Glazier Water is better water.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
What's all the buzz about nasal irrigation and Navage? And should I try it? Here's the science. Airborne germs invade through your nose. It's the body's air filter for trapping allergens and viruses. When your nose gets clogged, it's less effective and germs multiply. Eventually, your immune system can get overwhelmed and you get sick. Nasal irrigation is an effective, all-natural way to clean your nose. It's not a drug. It's more like plumbing. Saline goes in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and germs. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage to make cleaning your nose easy. It's the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls out the bad stuff so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier. At Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Or go to Navage.com for a free gift with purchase. Over 2 million sold. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed helps you attract, screen, and interview quality candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER, and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Kev, as a reward for your Steelers embarrassing my Browns yesterday, black and yellow all day.
Appreciate it.
Yep, black and yellow all day. I had buddies reach out and say, "Oh man, I'm sure you're going to let Kev have it today." I'm like, "Why?" Just because Kev's a fan of the team that actually knows how to win football games, even without talent, even without. I mean, you got Bengals fans making excuses about that call at the end. I will give Zach Taylor this. I beat up on Zach Taylor a lot.
Oh, meltdown, dog.
But like, I love what Zach Taylor said in the post game. Like, he got pissed at the reporter that asked him about that call, and he goes, "Look, stop." He goes, "Shouldn't have come to that." And that, I swear to goodness, here on a day where it's easy to rip both teams, Zach Taylor, I respect the hell out of that comment. Good for you. Because you know what I mean? Like most coaches, and that's why I get so angry about people who blame officiating and blame bad calls on stuff. I'm like, yes, but like, what could you have done differently to not have had the game on the line to come down to that type of call? So I respect that. I respect the hell out of Zach Taylor for that. Bengals fans, buckle up. You ready for this? You ask me right now. Again, the question was of which loss was worse yesterday. The Cincinnati Bengals were a 11.5 point favorite. You just come off the best win for your franchise in the last decade. You were facing a backup quarterback. You should be embarrassed. I'm not defending you. You guys are a joke. However, the Browns' loss was worse yesterday. Which loss was worse? The Browns and the Steelers and the Jets and the Bengals? Because you guys ready for this? I said last week when the Bengals played their best game in over a decade and destroyed the Ravens, I said, look, they're not as good as what they looked in that game against the Ravens. So let's not overreact. And you guys overreacted like I've never seen people overreact before. And that's coming from a Browns fan. You guys overreacted more than I've ever seen a fan base overreact to. I'm going to chalk it up to just excitement. Finally, you've arrived, blah, blah, blah. You haven't arrived, but you're better than you've been in years past. Good for you. The Ravens aren't as bad as they looked last week, and the Bengals aren't as good as they looked last week. That was proven yesterday. But I will say this. The Bengals also aren't as bad as what they looked yesterday. I think offensively, and by the way, that was not a great offensive performance for them. They still put up 30 points. That's good. The Bengals are good. Okay? The Bengals are not as bad as what they looked yesterday. That defense, I respect that defense. I've been chirping. All year I've been saying, if anything, the Bengals are good this year, not because of Joe Burrow. They're good because of the defense. Because Joe Burrow, for the 100th time, throws his 150th interception this season, and he throws it in the fourth quarter, by the way, on a drive that he could have given his team the lead, and instead, or he with the lead, they had the lead. He throws the interception. That interception is then turned into a touchdown at the other end of the field, and they lose. Your quarterback that is, Mr. Clutch, that's another interception in a close game that your team loses. You lost to the Packers because he threw an interception in overtime. You lost to the Jets yesterday because you couldn't hold on to a lead. Yes, because defense wasn't doing their part, but Joe Burrow should have been able to put that away. And I'm just saying, you guys got to stop, destroying other teams' quarterbacks for doing that same thing. And then when your quarterback does it, you start making all these stupid, lame excuses like, oh, well, our defense, our coaching, blah, 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 blah. No. So I said buckle up because at the end of the day, which loss was worse? It was the Browns because the Bengals defense, If good defense makes the Browns offense look like that, I'm pissed off. My hair is going to be purple as Barney next week because of what's going to happen. So I believe that the Bengals defensively, like I said, last week, they looked really, really good. They're not as good as what they were last week. They're not that good, okay? For those of you who thought, man, Joe Burrow, man, if we could do that against the Ravens and we win this division, we could win a Super Bowl. Okay, stop. You had one good game, one great game. You're a good team. You're not a great team. You have a lot of flaws. That showed against the Jets yesterday. But overall, that defense will not play another bad game like that again the rest of the year. I promise you that much. Joe Burrow will continue throwing interceptions, okay? The offense will continue being streaky up and down. But that defense, the only reason you're able to get away with that offense being streaky is because the defense was able to hold you down. They didn't hold you down yesterday. That's why you lost. The offense played a typical game. They had a lot of 3-and-outs. They've had a lot of 3-and-outs all year, folks. I'm not bashing you. This is the truth. Your team has had a lot of 3-and-outs all year. That's not me bashing. That's the reality. Joe Burrow has thrown a ton of interceptions all year. He's thrown a ton of touchdowns all year. The offense has these big highlight plays every single game. They also have big lulls every single game. But you know why you've been able to get by with the up and down and consistent offense? The defense. When the defense doesn't show up, that offense isn't good enough to win you football games. But that defense is the key. That defense, I have more faith in returning for the Bengals than anything else. The Browns, on the other hand, Kev, the reason I say that the Browns loss was more embarrassing than the Bengals, even though they lost as 11.5 point favorite, because the Browns are losing. The Browns lost yesterday for the same reasons they lost against the Cardinals, for the same reasons that they easily could have lost against the Broncos, even though it was Case Keenum at quarterback, that they lost against, every good team they play. Their offense just isn't up to par with the other top teams in the NFL. The Bengals can find themselves in shootouts any week. They're good enough to beat any team in the NFL, and I hate saying that. The Browns, I thought, were good enough to beat any team in the NFL because of the run game and the pass game. But right now, it's not Baker's fault. It's not the pass game necessarily. It's just dysfunction from top to bottom. It's typical Browns football, just in talented form. This is Browns football, folks, except the difference between this Browns type of football and Browns football from years past is that this is a talented roster. If this was your typical Browns roster of no talent, it's like, oh, same old Browns. But what makes it more painful is that it's a talented roster that's doing the same old Browns thing. And that's what I can't tolerate. That's why I'm so irritated. And that's what ticks me off. So I think that the Bengals have a better chance of bouncing back from yesterday than the Browns. I think that the Browns are still trying to figure out. If you don't know who the hell you are at the halfway point of the season, good luck figuring it out the rest of the way. I'm not saying you can't catch fire down the stretch, but usually by now we know who you are. And the Bengals are a 5-3 team. They win games because of their defense, not offense. When their defense doesn't show up, they're in trouble. We saw that yesterday against a very bad Jets team. It is what it is. Bengals fans, relax. I'm telling you right now, you don't really need to be concerned. You're not a great football team. You're a solid football team. Yesterday's loss didn't change that. You're going to win probably, 4 to 5 more games moving forward. I'm hoping not against Cleveland, but at this point, what I saw yesterday, that's why I'm so ticked. How am I supposed to sit here and talk smack all week, Kev? What are my Browns 10 points a game going to beat the Bengals? I know that as much as I can't stand Joe Burrow, I know that dude can easily put up 28 points at the least on this Browns defense right now. And what's his Browns offense going to do? Well, we're only down 3 in the fourth quarter. We still have a shot. Down 3 possessions, by the way. I'm nervous now. I'm ticked off that the Browns, like the Bengals, by the way, you Bengals haven't made me nervous. The Browns are making me nervous. The Browns are healthier now. There's no more excuses. If Baker, you're out on the field, I'm going to judge you based on what you're doing on the field. And it ain't good enough. It's not all his fault, though, because the only excuse I will make for him and not the Browns is the embarrassment that is the receivers for the Browns. Jarvis Landry fumbling the ball the way he did late. OBJ not being a factor. I mean, we're seeing so many mistakes from this wide receiving core, it's not even funny. Oh, but Baker had a couple overthrows. You know how many overthrows every week Joe Burrow and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have? Quarterbacks are not perfect. So, anyways, it is what it is. But, Kev, who do you think, which loss was a bigger deal yesterday? I think it's the Browns because it doesn't matter who they play. I think the Browns, they're every week, they're losing for the same reasons. That's why the Bengals haven't looked that bad all year, and I don't think we'll see them look that bad again. That defense, I think they fell asleep because it's the Jets. It's a backup quarterback. You're coming off that tough loss or that big, humongous win against the Ravens. How do you go from riding that emotional roller coaster high? How do you get up to that level again for the embarrassingly bad Jets? That had trap game written all over it. It lived up to the trap game. I just think that the Browns should be more concerned than Bengals fans today.
Biggest concern or biggest embarrassment?
Answer both. I think it's both just because the Browns continue. They're healthier. They should have looked better, and they looked even worse. I got nothing.
Its biggest embarrassment is the Cincinnati Bengals because you as a franchise, you look like you're finally turning the corner again and everything like that. And then you end up losing to the Jets. And not only did you lose to the Jets, who are a bad football team, you lose to a dude named Mike White. Now, when I heard Mike White was starting at quarterback.
Do you want this, by the way?
No.
Hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, even though I do it all the time. But the chat section, they said Kev needs to have the hater mic today. Are you sure?
I'm positive.
All right, but today, look, imagine the black and yellow singing that into the hater mic.
No.
Back to Kev.
The reason why, because they had a dude named Mike White starting their quarterback for the Jets. Now, the last time I heard a name like Mike White, he was the mayor of my hometown, Cleveland. Mike White was the mayor of Cleveland when I was growing up. So when I heard that, I did a double take, like, Mike White, what? And then I see him out there. I'm like, oh, okay. So I saw that the Jets were up 7-0, and then, the Bengals tied it up, and then the Bengals went up some more, then the Bengals went up some more, and I was like, oh, it's in the bag as I'm watching the Steelers and Browns game. So as the game gets tighter for the Bengals and Jets, I turn it on TV and I start watching the Steelers and the Browns on my phone and everything like that, and I'm just watching this happen to the Bengals, and I'm just like, on the screen pass, like, they have the lead. The Bengals have the lead. And what a play by Shaq Lawson. What a play. Like, people don't intercept screen passes. He bats it up in the air and catches it. Great play by him. So the offense, for me, I didn't watch a ton of the game, but automatically you go to the defense where you give up 400 passing yards to a dude who never played in the NFL before, making his first start in the NFL, and you picked him off twice. You had a 2-possession lead in the fourth quarter, and somehow you give it away, and the defense is supposed to be the strong part of your team and everything like that. So I would say that's the more embarrassing situation, because you can't handle prosperity. You
Losing
can't
the Steelers isn't an embarrassment.
Right.
It's still the Steelers. So I see your point.
You can't handle the pats on the back. You know what I'm saying? You can't handle being in Kenner's top 5 for the week. You can't handle people saying,
baby.
Right. You can't handle, ESPN talking good about you. You can't handle that. So then I look at the most damaging is the Browns, because the Browns, obviously, if they would have won yesterday, it would have set up a battle of first place this upcoming week in Cincinnati. So this is obviously because the Bengals have won other games. They're still in first place, even though they lost. This isn't a division game. But now the Bengals or the Browns have lost a division game. They're 0-1 in the division. The Bengals are 2-0. The Ravens are 0-1, and the Steelers are 1-1. So that's more damaging to their playoff hopes. But like the embarrassment factor of like, oh man, we lost to the Jets. And I mean, it kind of brought it up. Well, you kind of brought it up back when the Bengals played the Lions. The Lions is going to get somebody. They're going to get somebody, but you don't want to be that team. You know what I'm saying? The Steelers have the Lions in a couple weeks. I'm going to be biting my nails. Look, the Lions are going to beat somebody. I just hope it ain't my team. And that's kind of how you had that feeling with the Jets. Like, all right, the Jets, they up 50-something points last week to the Patriots. So I'm sure this is a very young Cincinnati Bengals team. They don't have a ton of veterans on that team at all. Like, normally you got one veteran that's been around for a long time, like maybe a Geno Atkins or something like that, who can, hey, man, we got to focus. It's the NFL. Anybody can be anybody, give you all that good rhetoric and all that talk. Not only are they super young on the team, they're super young in the coaching staff. So I think it was really a situation where, people are going into it thinking like, oh man, it's about to be a stat game, about to get my stats up. We blow them out. I'll be resting by the third quarter. Everybody gets to play. And then guess what? You're in the middle of a ball game. And then boom, you throw an interception. Shaq Lawson makes a great play. And now you lose. As far as the Browns are concerned, you look at that game, and even though Mike Tomlin called one of the craziest fake field goals I've ever seen in my life, Boswell gets hurt, gets concussed, and not only is that a whammy for my real team, it's a whammy for my fantasy team as well. You don't have a kicker, and just some way, somehow, the Browns end up losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was just typical. This is one of those typical things. It kind of reminded me, obviously, the stakes weren't as high when the Steelers beat the Bengals in that playoff game. It's just like one of those things like, man, I can't believe it. But when it's involving these two teams, anything can happen.
Yeah, and so, but again, if you're just tuning in, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. If you tuned in today thinking, oh man, Kinner's going to let the Bengals have it, no, because I got to stay consistent, and I'm staying consistent by saying blowouts happen. Just because it wasn't really a blowout, but I'm just saying, like, bad losses happen. When the team that's not as good beats you, it doesn't mean that team's better. Like, just like the Bengals beating the Ravens last week, I don't think that the Bengals are better than the Ravens. I don't think that Joe Burrow's better than Lamar Jackson. I don't think that the offense for the Bengals is better than the Ravens. Sometimes the less talented team wins. We saw that yesterday. We saw it yesterday twice. The Steelers are less talented, but they're better coached. They won. The Jets are way less talented than the Bengals, and they won, but nobody is saying that the Jets are better than the Bengals. Are they? Because they're not. But based on Bengals fan logic, well, we beat the Ravens, so we're better than the Ravens. You were better than the Ravens that day. Beat the Ravens again. Keep beating everybody. Like, the one thing I will give the Bengals is this. You talked about it, Kev, how important it is to win in the division. Mm-hmm. It's going to be division-heavy games the back half. Yeah. The Browns, that was their first AFC North game. The Bengals have had two. Will have to be their third this coming up weekend. Here's why it's impressive for the Bengals. They beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. They beat Baltimore at Baltimore. Yep. Like, that's why I'm impressed with Cincinnati, is because, not that I would discredit it if they were at home, but if they would have won at home, it's like, well, yeah, you have a better chance of beating those teams at home. But you beat them there. And now you have Pittsburgh coming to you still. You have Baltimore coming to you still. So, again, like I said, I'm not going to knock the Bengals for yesterday's loss because I don't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, now you lose next week. And, and by the way, the Browns, I know they're 2.5-point dogs. I still think that the Browns are the better talent. They're the more talented team. But I will give the Bengals play better team football than the Browns do this year. I can't deny that. I don't think that the Bengals are as talented as the Browns, but they play better team football. The Steelers play better team football. And that's all you can ask for. And I think that's why, when Kev, who irritates me with his bumper sticker approach to everything, well, got to take it one game at a time, guys. And, well, it's next man up. And it's like, oh, gosh, here we go again to give a Kev Nash bumper sticker show. That's what we got to call it. But the reason he could say stuff like that and it irritates me is because of his stupid team. It's because the Steelers, they're the one stupid team that does the next man up thing, that takes it one game at a time and blah, 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 blah. Nah. That's what drives me nuts. But it is what it is. I still think the Browns' loss was worse than the Bengals because the Browns, they lost because they beat themselves. They should have beat the Steelers. They had multiple chances to beat them down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Fumbles, drop passes, everything. Bad play calling, everything. To where the Bengals had an off day. The Ravens had an off day last Sunday. The Bengals had it this week, and the Bengals will put it back together. I actually fear the Bengals more now coming off a loss. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because usually, and I'm being serious here, folks, when you have a bad game like that, like usually that they were already going to be motivated to play the Browns anyway. But now Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Zach Taylor, the whole team, they're all pissed now. Yeah. And now they showed up to work today pissed off, angry, and they're ready to get to work. So that scares me. The Bengals won't start out slow against the Browns, and I hope the Browns know that. And I hope that the Browns have the same sense to prepare with urgency starting today, and don't let yesterday's loss and the previous losses from weeks past against the Cardinals and some good teams. They got to focus because they can get punched in the mouth. If the Browns come out feeling sorry for themselves, the Bengals are going to punch them in the mouth. And then I'm going to call off. I have a ton of pizza show days. I'm just waiting to burn them dudes. I'm just saying. All right, 518-1410. Which loss was worse? The Browns lost to the Steelers or the Bengals lost to the Jets? I still think it's the Browns because the Browns are beating themselves. I don't think I will, as much as I bash the Bengals. I think they're an average football team. They're okay. They're not great. They're very in the middle. They're not that team that beat the Ravens last week. You won't see the Ravens play another Pittsburgh game like that moving forward. You won't see the Bengals play another great game like that moving forward. They're somewhere in the middle. They played below that middle yesterday, and I don't anticipate them doing that moving forward. That defense is really good as long as they stay healthy. 518-1410. Let's go to Sean. Sean, how are you, sir?
Thank you, sir. You guys are doing a great job. Real quick, the Jets are not as good as they look, and the Bengals are not as good as they looked against Baltimore. Mm-hmm. That said, if The Bengals can lose to the Jets. The Browns can beat the Bengals. The problem with the Browns, they got out-coached yesterday, and they beat themselves. And I don't think they're going to do any better with the Bengals. The Browns are not – they're not ready. Baker needs to be benched. Odell needs to be benched and get on with the rest of the season.
Can I ask Sean, I have a soft spot in my heart for Baker. I don't know why. I have a weird man crush on Baker Mayfield. I don't think he played poorly yesterday. I know that the incompletions are going to be a result of him, but they did like a breakdown of like the last 9 plays of the game. Baker completed 6 of those 9, and one of those was the fumble. 3 of them were dropped catches. Like if those three of those catches all should have been made, and it wasn't a result of Baker, it was a result of the receivers. Why are you saying why are you attacking Baker here? Because overall, Baker had a pretty solid game considering the lack of help he got from, of course, his receivers.
He just doesn't look poised.
Okay.
He doesn't look poised. Have a good day, sir.
Hey, you as well, Sean. Thank you. Man, they hit up quick. I don't have time to hit the drop button. They just and we're done. But your thoughts on that yesterday? You watching that again? Baker. I'm not saying he's great. I don't need you to tell me he's great, but I don't think that was on him yesterday. In fact, like I said, those last 9 plays, he completed 6 of those 9 passes, but the 3 that he didn't complete were drops. And even the one completion of those 6, it was a fumble by Boyd. Or why do I keep calling him Boyd? Jarvis Landry. I always say Jarvis and Boyd are the same type of receiver. But anyway, Jarvis Landry. But let's see if I can stop calling Jarvis Landry Boyd at this point. I think I'd rather have Boyd if Boyd, if Jarvis keeps dropping those papers. But that's usually not Jarvis. Jarvis usually doesn't drop those.
Right.
But your thoughts when you were watching that yesterday, like I'm not seeing the Baker destruction that everyone else is seeing. Could he do more? Yes. But if those 3 drops are made or caught, we're talking about Baker leading the Browns down the field to win against Pittsburgh. So that's why I have a problem with attacking him. I thought there was way too many other issues with the Browns yesterday, and he wasn't even in the top 5.
My biggest issue, if I'm a Browns fan, would be big picture. The whole thing. And this goes into what happened yesterday. And this goes back to the Kansas City game. It goes back to the Chargers game. They don't have a drop back passing game. Everything is predicated off a run fake. Every single pass is off a run fake. Everything is off the run. They never just like, all right, hey, man, we're just going to take a shot play down the field. We're going to stretch the field with a deep shot. It's the NFL in 2021. Pass interferences happen left and right. Like you breathe on a receiver down the sideline, you're going to get a pass interference. And this ain't college where it's a 15-yard penalty. They don't attack down the field at all. It's always play action. It's always a bootleg. And we talked about this last year. You really can't bootleg against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's kind of like how they're set up. They're set up to stop bootlegs. So Stefanski, they didn't run a lot of bootlegs. 1, because they were versus Steelers. 2, Baker's got a banged up shoulder. So obviously you don't want him rolling out to a certain way and he lands on that shoulder or anything like that. So they don't have a drop back passing game. I don't know what the problem is. I'm not smart enough to dissect what the problem is, but every pass that is any kind of chunk yardage has to be off a play action pass, because you can't win the Super Bowl with only running play action and screen passes. Like the ball in the air isn't traveling 20 yards. The ball, I think he only threw the ball past 20 yards one time to Njoku. Everything else, the ball, he may have had a big completion yardage wise, off a screen, off a slant and somebody breaks a tackle, but the ball actually leaving his arm and hitting somebody downfield, non-existent. The only one I've seen all season was the one in Njoku where he caught like a 15-yard in route versus Chargers, and then he took it to the house, and then the Hail Mary. Those are the only.
They had 2 against the Chiefs, but that's when everyone was healthy and it was easier. I'm not saying that
to Schwartz. So
I'm not saying, and who was supposed to be their speed guy that they were excited about, and he showed up in game 1 and all that. I'm waiting. Is it I'm seeing all these conspiracy theories on Twitter yesterday. Well, Baker's shoulder, that's why he's not rolling out to the left, even though Stefanski said in the presser today that no, they don't roll out to the left because the Steelers weren't going to give him that.
Right.
They know that. And overall, so he had 11 incompletions yesterday. 7 of those were drops.
Yeah.
Like, you see what I mean
think
by
the
that?
7 numbers are kind of, yes, there were drops. There were drops. For sure, Landry had one. Hollywood Higgins had a drop. Hooper had a drop. 7 seems a bit aggressive for me.
Well, that's the tally in the art.
Yeah. I obviously I don't do the tally thing,
So
but
I'm keeping that because that helps me. Okay, so
Like-
don't discredit that. It's all I got.
I would like to ask those people what's a PBU and like what's like is the one down the seam to OBJ, is that considered a drop?
I don't know if they caught that one, but that's another thing.
Like I want to see the ones
paid that much, you make that damn catch.
I want to see what they consider drops because like the last one on the 4th down to Landry, is that a drop? Because Minkah Fitzpatrick's all on his back. Like he's roughhousing him to the ground to jar the ball loose. Is that a drop? Is that a PBU? So 7 to me seems aggressive. To me, like I think that's a PBU, the one to Landry. I don't consider that a drop. The one to OBJ down the seam, I don't consider that a drop.
You call it PBU, ABC, WWE. Point is, Baker throws the ball.
We old school. If it touch your hands, catch it.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm defending Baker on this because I'm fine with you. Call it whatever 3-letter word you want. But if it's in your hands and you catch it and you drop it, it's a drop. If it's in your hands and you get rocked and you drop it, that's still not on Baker. That's on the receiver. I mean, that's just a good defensive play.
Right.
Not everything, just like in baseball. Baseball, give them this. They mark whether, is it an error?
Right.
Or was it on the pitcher? Or was it against the defense and stuff like that? Like, that's what I mean. Like, football doesn't do that. Everything is a stat that comes back against the quarterback, and that's what drives me nuts, is that right there. So you're right. Don't know if they counted that OBJ one where he dinosaur armed it instead of going out full extension to get it and all that stuff. And the other thing, too, is
career decision right there, boy. Yeah. Made a major business decision. Minkah was coming in.
And that's fine.
He should have let him hit him. It would have been a penalty.
But
First down.
If you are Higgins or you are PBJ or whoever, I'm just saying. No, but if you are any receiver that's not OBJ or Jarvis, you're not getting as much heat today. But when you are eating up that much money, I mean, look, wide receivers matter in the NFL today. And I thought that the Browns had the right core. And the big question now is the core wrong or is it Baker? I'm willing to say it's Baker if he's overthrowing guys and throwing to against the Cardinals, that one wide open. I mean, he just threw it right to the cornerback. But when you have 7, whether they're drops on the wide receiver or broken up passes by the defense, point is the receiver, if you touch it, or it's within a certain radius, that becomes on you at that point, or it just becomes a great defensive play and it's not on anybody. I mean, that's what drove me nuts about yesterday. But 518-1410, I still think that the Browns' loss was worse than the Bengals because I don't think you're going to see many more games of the Bengals looking the way that they did. I fear that we'll see more games from the Browns looking the way they did. And I'm the Bengals hater, Browns lover. And I'm telling you, I don't think you'll see another bad performance like that from the Bengals the rest of the way. I don't think. All right, I'm acknowledging they're talented. They're too talented to perform the way they did yesterday. That I don't expect to see that again. But I do fear that the Browns, they're talented. They're too talented to perform that way. But we've seen it too often this year for me to say that, well, the Bengals, they won't look like that moving forward, and neither will the Browns. They're too talented. No, the Browns have consistently been that too talented team that continues to underachieve. And I've chalked some games off to injuries and others, and I'm standing by that. But yesterday, there's no excuse other than just effort and not being able to execute. But all right, Justin Kinder, Kev Nash with you here, 518-1410. I see Ed and Ron, and who else just called him? Tim. We'll get to all you guys on the other side. Enough of me and Kev rambling. It's your turn next. Thoughts on this Browns-Bengals, debacle from yesterday. Gary on Facebook, Gary Peck, says, I agree that the Bengals beating Pittsburgh and Baltimore on the road means more than if they were at home. With that logic, we're going into college. With that, which we're not going into college, by the way. We'll get into college when we transition into college talk. So if you're calling in about college, with all due respect, we'll get into college when we get into college. It's all Browns-Bengals for the time being. We'll transition to that in a moment. The first playoff poll comes out. But he says that Oregon has to be ranked of Ohio State because of that. The game played on the field has to matter. I don't know why people keep saying that. No one's saying that winning doesn't matter. Winning does matter. The reason beating Ohio State at Ohio State is still being rewarded to Oregon is because they're still in the conversation. Had they beat Ohio State at Ohio State, and they did, and then they didn't have a loss, Oregon would be in the top 4. We wouldn't even be talking about Cincinnati right now, other than, man, they're going to be at 6 or 5. They still might be at 6 or 5. But Oregon still being in the conversation with one loss is because they beat Ohio State at Ohio State, folks. Stop saying that, well, winning has to mean something. It does mean something. That's why they're still in the conversation. But losing to bad teams also should mean something. And that's why they're being there's a little resistance with Oregon. So yes, winning should matter. They're being rewarded for beating Ohio State. That's why they're still getting the benefit of the doubt for the one loss. But there's a little resistance with Oregon, and it's that one loss. If they didn't have that one loss, the win against Ohio State would mean more. And that's the same thing for Ohio State. I keep scratching my head. How is everyone not having them in their top four? But they're being rewarded for the win against Penn State. There's resistance because of the loss against Oregon. So yes, you are rewarded for winning. Sometimes winning and being rewarded for winning means you're in the conversation. The Bearcats beat Notre Dame. Well, winning should matter. They should be rewarded for that. They are being rewarded for being Notre Dame. That's why they're in the conversation. Because had they lost to Notre Dame, they wouldn't be. So stop saying that winning needs to mean something as if anyone's saying that it doesn't. Winning matters. And every team that's in the conversation, it's because they're winning. And every team that's just on the outside looking in, it's because they lost. And if you're the Bearcats and you're still just barely on the outside looking in, it's because winning matters, yes, but the quality of wins you have matter as well. So that's the thing. I know we're going to hear a lot of that. Winning matters. Winning matters. Yes, it does. And Oregon is being rewarded for their win against Ohio State by being ultimately kind of forgiven slightly for their loss. That's why they're still in it. Had they lost to Ohio State and had the loss that they did, they wouldn't be in the conversation. But they're still in the conversation because they beat the Buckeyes. Anyways, but no college talk right now. You got me off on the sidetrack. But let's continue talking Browns-Bengals. I promise you college football coming up here around the corner, I swear. But I want to close out this Browns-Bengals conversation. It's Battle of Ohio this Sunday. I want to get back to being excited about it, but they need to be punished. They need to be ripped on this show, both the Browns and the Bengals. There is no Bengals hate today. It's equal hate. They did embarrass both the Browns and Bengals, embarrassed the whole state of Ohio yesterday. That's where I'm at. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
From city streets to back roads, from road warrior to carpooler, there are some things you can always count on, like the reliability, durability, and power of DieHard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on DieHard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
Is your prostate waking you up more often than your alarm clock? The fact is, the older you get, the more likely you'll have prostate problems, which can affect your everyday life. That's where Prostate Complete by Real Health comes in. Prostate Complete is the result of 20 years of experience as a leader in men's health. The powerful formula in Prostate Complete supports natural prostate function and reduced urinary urges for a better quality of life. Available at Walmart. Visit prostate1perday.com for special offers. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The soothing scent of Vicks Vapor Rub. It's only one of the most iconic smells ever. That cooling, comforting scent generations of families have come to trust to help them feel better. And now you trust to soothe your family. Pick up some Vicks Vapor Rub in the little blue jar and wrap yourself with the calm only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, always there for you.
Hi, welcome to Furniture Depot. And you, come on in.
Couches are flying off the floor at Cheyenne's Furniture Store.
Sarah, can you go over to dining sets, please?
She needs more sales associates before shoppers take their seats elsewhere.
Can somebody get me a price check on trundle beds?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Modernize your home's lighting at Menards. Turn any recessed light into an energy-efficient LED downlight. Retrofit lights are dimmable, easy to install, and can change color temperatures. Pick up an 8-pack of 6-inch LED retrofit lights for just $14.99 after sale price and 11% off. That's $15 off. Get it now and update your lighting today. Good through November 6th. Savings are mail-in rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Dayton Barrel Works Bourbon and Whiskey Bash is Saturday, November 20th, noon till 3 p.m. Over 40 bourbons and whiskeys to sample. For tickets, call 937-228-2337. Dayton Barrel Works, 318 East 2nd Street in Dayton.
Did you know Prilosec OTC can stop frequent heartburn before it begins? Yep, I said before. Block heartburn at the source by taking the Prilosec OTC 2-week challenge. With just 1 pill a day, you get 24-hour heartburn relief. That's all day. Start the 2-week challenge today at prilosecotc.com and live heartburn-free. Just 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with a booming voice that emphasizes all the main points. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
That part is super important.
Here's one with a booming voice.
I'm emphasizing everything.
Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance.
Like a page with every word highlighted.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Lowe's Provember event is back, and we're thanking pros like you all month long with buy one, get one free deals on select DeWalt power tools and top values like a Spider 2-pack of 4.5-inch diamond cutoff wheels for $14.98. Join us for Provember, going on now through November 24th. Shop in-store or at Lowe's.com/Provember. Lowe's, the new home for pros. While supplies last, U.S. only, valid 10/28 through 11/24.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, and B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live your life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So your headlights are getting dim? With the seasons changing, now's a great time to change them. Upgrading your headlights can ensure you'll be safe and ready to handle darkness and fog. Oh, and we recommend replacing in pairs. That way you won't have uneven lighting over time. You can get all of your lighting needs fast with our next day delivery and free same-day store pickup. Getting the job done just got easier.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here. That's right, Jets, 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 black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. We'd all deserve it. We all deserve it. You all think I'm just one-sided. I only bash one side. I'm bashing both. Because it was a team effort yesterday. It took two to tango. It took two pro teams to embarrass the whole state of Ohio yesterday. And congratulations, Bengals fans. Your team was one half of that. Congratulations, Browns fans. We were a part of that too. So, hey, today it's about unifying just for even one show. I'll go back to talking smack tomorrow. But today, there's no hater mic. I was trying to hide it, but some of the listeners are upset with you. You missed out on an opportunity.
With me?
You should have had the hater mic.
Nah. Ain't nothing to hate about. What's the hate about?
God, you're boring. My God, your team beat the Browns. You should be letting us have it. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, my phone was real quiet yesterday. It was jumping.
And if you think that when the Browns beat the Steelers later that I'm not going to be chirping at you, oh, man, you have another thing coming.
My phone was jumping. My phone was jumping from 10 a.m. until 1:15. Boom, boom. Bing, bing, bing. We were about to get it today. 3 in a row. Crickets. 4 o'clock, crickets. Nothing. Nobody. No, nothing from my pops, nothing from my uncle, nothing from my father-in-law. Shayla got up, walked out the room, didn't talk to me for like 2 hours. Crickets. One of my best friends. Crickets. Yeah. Nobody talking. Nobody want to talk to me.
So when the Browns beat the Steelers in the playoffs, did you get up and not talk to Shayla? Shayla, come on. I hope she's listening. That's shame on you, Shayla.
Shame
you got to
on
accept
her.
the loss. Like today, I'm eating it. It is what it is. How you going to ignore my guy Kev over here for 4 hours because your team what? Maybe, to be fair, maybe she wasn't ignoring you. She just needed to go off and have some alone time. That was embarrassing what the Browns did. Not losing to you the way they lost.
I can't say exactly what she said. Shout out to the FCC, but she wants a lot of people traded. Lots of people. Starting with the dudes that can't catch.
I already saw someone already had put Aaron Rodgers' face in a Browns jersey yesterday. And I said, that's fine. You can bring Aaron Rodgers over, but unless those guys catch for him, it don't matter who's throwing the damn football. So that was yesterday's loss. I blame on the wide receivers. Straight up. Every week it's been someone different. Baker, they should have lost to the Vikings. Baker throwing for 150 yards, having a QBR of 15 and looking as embarrassing as he did. They had no business winning that football game. That loss I would have put on his shoulders completely. I don't necessarily, look, if you think back to the Cardinals game, OBJ in the 5, that ball was in his hands. Now, he got rocked, and you talked about that and everything like that, but it's like, OBJ, I don't care if you got rocked. You're paid a lot of money to make those catches. Hopkins gets rocked. He makes those catches, okay? Jamar Chase, hate him. Not really. Hate him. He makes those catches. You got to make those catches. There's I get it. There's always an excuse not to make those catches, but at the end of the day, when they're in your hands and you're paid that much money and the Browns give up that much draft capital to get you, and you've already been underperforming, that's why I get so sick of the media that's like, I can't believe Kevin Stefanski underutilizing him. Well, what does he do when he does get his opportunity? When he does get his opportunities, what is he doing with those? Because it's not like Kev, he got targeted 5 times and was, and he had 2 catches for 46 yards. Then I could be like, well, man, you got to get him more touches. He's taking those 2 catches and giving you a half a football field's worth of yards. You got to find a way to get him more touches. Even in his 1 catch for 6 yards yesterday, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get they're not utilizing him correctly, or they're seeing that he is as non-productive in practice as he is in games, and that's why they're not drawing up stuff for him. There just comes a certain point where even bad receivers show up big on bad teams at times. So I'm having a hard time believing that it's all on Stefanski, that it's all on Baker Mayfield, because there has to come a point that it's hard to defend him when he does get thrown to and he has so many drops throughout the season. Like, it's that Cardinals game is a prime example. Had he made that catch and fallen into the end zone, it's a 1-possession game heading into the 4th quarter. As bad as the Browns played, the Cardinals couldn't stop the Browns offense. Once he dropped that pass, it's like the air was just, it was just sucked out of the room. They had no shot. It is what it is. Browns, bad game. You embarrassed yourselves. You embarrassed the state of Ohio. Bengals, just as equally an embarrassing game. You embarrassed the state of Ohio. Team effort. I joked at the beginning of the first hour that it was nostalgia to me. The Steelers won. A lot of nostalgia there. The Steelers beating up on the Browns again. Nostalgia, all right? By the way, when the Bengals beat up on the Steelers earlier in the year, Yeah, it was great for the Bengals fans. You guys loved it, but it looked weird. You guys even have to admit it looked weird. I know it looked weird. You guys have to admit it looked weird. When the Browns beat the Steelers last year, the last game of the season, I'm like, look, it's always cool to beat the Steelers, but they didn't really beat the Steelers. The Steelers had all their backups in. It was, they were setting up shop and to rest up for the playoff game. And then the Browns destroyed the Steelers in the playoff game, although the Steelers did start coming back towards the end. I was a little nervous about that. But like even when they beat the Browns there, I'm like, man, I'm kind of like, what the heck's going on? It was weird. I was chirping. A lot of Browns fans were chirping. But that's what you do. When you beat the Steelers, it's weird. So to see the Steelers beat the Browns yesterday, it was nostalgia. The reason it was nostalgia is because the Browns lost in embarrassing fashion and the Bengals lost in embarrassing fashion. And it was just like old times. Browns fans yelling at Bengals fans yelling at Browns fans, all about whose loss was better. Well, our loss is 5, but look, we're still 5. But you're chirping from the basement. I'm like, you guys are foolish. You're both talking about who's not as ugly as the other one. Like, do you realize how much of losers we all sound? So I'm not chirping at Bengals fans today. You better not chirp at me either, because that's a loser mentality. To lose as an 11.5-point favorite against a backup quarterback, the embarrassing 1-win Jets, now 2 wins thanks to you, to chirp at me or any Browns fan is stupid. And Browns fans, if you're chirping at them, you're just as dumb. So it's a tie. We're wiping our hands of it. It is what it is. It was a team effort yesterday. We both did our best to embarrass the state of Ohio as a unit. Congratulations, Bengals. Congratulations, Browns. We are one today. We could go back to hating each other tomorrow. But 518-1410, 518-1410. Who's on line 2?
We got
Ed.
Ed, yes.
Ed, how are you, sir? All right, next up, who's on line 3?
We got Tim.
Tim, how are you, sir? All right, we'll try Ron. Ron,
don't look too bad.
Ron, is this you?
This is Tim.
Tim, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
I hit the wrong one. How are you, sir?
Oh, that's okay. Good. I didn't think Burrow looked that bad. 3 TDs and interception. The defense didn't look good, but the Browns is where I'd have some concern. You're right about Baker. I mean, OBJ and Landry are guys that make these acrobatic one-handed catches, throw the ball in their vicinity, and they're not getting that. And they haven't. Baker's accuracy has improved. I mean, it was good to start the season, but there were times that he's just overthrowing people by 3 yards. And who's he throwing the ball to? But yesterday, and my question is this: do you think about trading OBJ? You think you try to free up some cap space, get somebody else, and let next year have some money to make a run at Devontae Adams? What's your and the other Browns fans' thoughts about getting rid of one or both of those guys now? I'm going to hang up and listen.
Hey, Tim, you're the Packers fan, right?
Yes.
All right. My apologies last week for being rude to you on the air. I'm apologizing live on the air.
No, you weren't. You weren't. You made it clear. Hey, this conversation was coming. No, you weren't rude to me. You were rude to a previous caller.
Hey, come on now. I'm trying here. Don't push my buttons, Tim. I'm just trying. That's all. But no, Tim, I appreciated your feedback last week, and trust me, it was noted. So we good?
And I think that was the week before, wasn't it? Yeah.
Hey, Tim, I don't need you to tell me all of my flaws. All I was trying to do was do the right thing because I was rude to you. I felt I was rude, so I'm apologizing to you live on the air. So we good? That's all I care about. But I will answer your question.
Yeah. But I didn't take it that way.
Oh, well, I need to try harder then. No, I'm just joking. Okay. Take care, Tim. So Tim asked about the Browns and Baker or OBJ. My problem is, and I've seen a lot of people tweet this out too, you could trade OBJ, but you have to have value to trade. What value does he have right now?
Right.
His contract and his lack of productivity makes him almost untouchable unless you do what the Broncos did with Von Bell today and pay him to leave. So unless the Browns pay the remainder of his contract to make him more desirable for some other team, I just don't see the purpose in moving. I still think deep down he has more value to the Browns than the 5th round pick he would get. And I do believe that's all he's worth right now because no team's going to take on that contract unless he was balling out on a bad team and they just needed to move him. There would be a team desperate enough to take on that contract, but not with that lack of productivity. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I don't know, Kev, but I don't think he's hurting them from a locker room standpoint. I don't think he's a cancer in the locker room, but I do wonder if there's value in just moving him to move him. Even if all you get is a 5th round pick, maybe there's something there. maybe there was something to his absence last year after the injury when the offense opened up. Maybe there is something to that. The Browns are running out of time and options. And I just think that right now, if you're not willing to add to this roster, which, by the way, I think it's foolish to add to the defense right now because you have talent on that defense and you're still not winning with it. And I don't know if it's the talent individually. In fact, I know it's not because you look at the pieces they added in Hill and Johnson and others from the Rams. The Rams had top 3 defense in the NFL last year because of that secondary. The Browns already had a solid secondary, and then you added all those weapons to it. They should be better. I think it's a defensive scheme. So until they address the scheme, adding more defensive players does nothing for me. I would like to see another playmaker. I would go see what you could get from Cooks from the Texans. I straight up send him to Houston. I don't care what you got to do. I want to see the Browns kind of move on from OBJ. And I wasn't saying that a month ago. I was on the fence 2 weeks ago. But yesterday, it is what it is. But stop blaming Stefanski for not drawing up plays. If he was balling out in practice, don't you think that they would be trying to find a way to get him the ball more in games?
Right.
So, like, the game day calls are based on what the coaches are seeing during practice that we're not privy to. So if we're not privy to that, we can't sit here and say that, oh, man, he's lighting it up in practice, but Stefanski doesn't want to use him during games. No coach wants to get fired. No coach wants to lose games. No coach is willing to lose games at the expense of a star player unless they're a cancer in the locker room, which he is not. So, you know what I mean? I don't know what the right answer is here, but I guess the right answer is trade him, move on from him. He's not the devil. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's just not producing. It's not working. It's okay to say, yeah, this didn't work. We're just going to go in a different direction, but he's still a hell of a talent.
What could you get for him?
I think it's a Von Bell situation where you got to almost buy him out.
Von Miller.
What did I say? Von Bell? Did I say Von Bell earlier?
Yeah.
My bad, folks. Sorry about that. Von Miller. I have a lot of Bengals players on my mind. I kept calling Jarvis Tyler Boyd earlier. Not Von Bell. My bad. I'm getting ripped already. Screw you guys, man. Like, I said the wrong name. We talked for 3 hours a day. See, I just told Tim I'm going to work on it. I'm already saying screw you to people oh my gosh, I said the wrong name. Who cares? We talked for 3 hours a day. Of course I'm going to slip up. Luckily, I haven't said anything too bad to this point in my career. Von Miller. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, but see, the huge difference between those two guys is Von Miller is a Super Bowl MVP for that organization. He helped them get another Super Bowl, and he was an MVP. Like, if I'm the Browns organization, I'm not like, all right, man, we're going to go ahead and trade you to a contender, and we're going to pay you. Like, you've done nothing for us to incentivize us to do that. Like, we're going to trade you to the best place we can. And right now, I don't see that out there. I don't see anybody willing to give you anything of substance for him, because you got to think from their perspective, like, all right, we didn't make this investment into this player with a lot of money and everything like that. And don't forget, we traded for him. We gave up something to get him. We gave up an offensive lineman, we gave up a draft pick, and we gave up a player for him. And now we're going to get a 6th-round pick. Like, that's an L. It's a major L. I think you actually save more money on a salary cap if he plays throughout the season and you cut him in the offseason. So, like, I would imagine they're going to go the long play instead of the short term.
OBJ is still a distraction for the Browns, not in the sense of which you guys like to paint, not you, Kev, but a lot of the Browns haters and OBJ haters, they like to paint him as a distraction. And in their eyes, a distraction is the guy throwing a temper tantrum for not getting the ball, blah, blah, blah. He's a distraction right now with his lack of productivity because it's a conversation.
Because he's a name, too.
Point. Yeah. So when I say he's a distraction, it's not for the reasons that a lot of you like to try and throw out there. He's actually still been a great teammate. There's nothing leaking. And trust me, if there was something to leak, it would have come out by now. There's nothing leaking about him being a distraction in the locker room. He's a distraction because after the Browns lose as poorly as they did yesterday, we're not talking about all the wide receivers and the issues with dropping passes. We're talking about, man, Stefanski is screwing over OBJ. That is not what is happening in the midst of a 4-4 last place season at the halfway point for a team that had Super Bowl expectations. Trust me, if drawing up more plays for OBJ is really what would lead to this team winning football games, don't you think that Stefanski would have figured that out by now? Like, that's the like, you know what I mean? Kev, no coach is willing to lose games at the expense of drawing up plays for players. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's not a thing. I just think yeah. Now, so Brian McCoy says they got a 2nd and a 3rd for Von Bell, and then he said Von Miller. So see, I even got him to say Von Bell. So but yes, Brian, they did get The Broncos got a second and a third pick for Miller, but the Rams also had to pay the contract or whatever. The Broncos had to pay the rest of that contract, or they had to pay $9 million of the contract. So because they took off a lot of the money, that's what made him worth the second and third. OBJ with the money is not worth the second and third. You pay out, you shave off that money, you might get a second and third. And maybe that's how the Browns have to look at it, Kev. Maybe they have to view it as, okay, we're not just eating this money to eat it. We have to eat this money as an investment to get something back. I also don't think the Browns lost with getting OBJ, and here's why. I love what the Rams did today with Von Miller. The Rams have Aaron Donald. They have, Jalen Ramsey. Now you have Von Miller. And let's say Von Miller goes over there and doesn't work out. Are we going to say, that was a loss for the Rams? No, what that was the Rams saying, we're going all in. We gave up a ton of draft capital to get Jalen Ramsey. We gave up a lot to still a second and a third for a guy his age. You're giving up a lot for a guy that might give you 1 to 2 years. They're going all in. I love teams that do that. I respect teams that do that. I respected Cleveland when they went and got OBJ for Baker. Did it work out? No. But Kev, the chances of anyone knowing it wouldn't work out, that was slim. And it's not working out for the reasons. It's not working out for the reasons people thought. People thought it wasn't going to work out because of Baker. I don't think it's because of Baker. I don't know what exactly it is, but I don't think it's because of Baker, because Baker has proven he can sling the football. He's proven he can make big plays. So I don't know. I don't count it as a loss for the Browns. I think it's an unfortunate result of what they were hoping, but I will never say a team is wrong for going all in to make a play. And OBJ at the time was in his just started in his prime, was the hottest receiver in football. The Browns had that 7-win season after 0-16, and Baker looked like the real deal. And the Browns were riding on, they were riding in heaven, right? So I don't think it was the wrong. I can't count it as a loss. It's an unfortunate result, but I don't know if it's a loss, but I definitely see what you're saying too. You intended for it to be a big thing and it ended up being a dud, but I give them credit for making a splash as opposed to, we'll just keep drafting weapons and hoping that they pan out. That's where I would have said that's a dud more. The Browns were trying to capitalize, and I respect teams that try to capitalize on a rookie quarterback steal is all. But I think it's a dud if you keep letting him stay around. You could salvage it and get a third-round pick, even if it's 1 third-round pick, and you have to eat some of the money. I think that's better off than letting him hang around in the locker room. And after every game he's not that productive in, we're sitting here questioning Stefanski and Baker and everything else when that has nothing to do with why the Browns are bad. OBJ should not be the main headline of the Browns' loss yesterday. So many things went wrong yesterday, and it wasn't OBJ. Like, that's the problem I'm having. So, yes, from this point right here, I'm like, they got to move him, because the Browns can never focus on getting better at why they're losing if they're constantly worried about, he only had 6 targets or whatever it was that everyone was fired up about.
You love this type of stuff. What if thing, the what if game? What if they do trade him to Green Bay? Mm-hmm. And he's out here with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and then magically he turns back into OBJ from his rookie and second year, and out here making one-handed catches and taking slants to the house for 50 yards and everything like that. How would you feel as a Browns fan?
Not any certain way. That'd be good for him. And if the Browns go on to keep winning football games and the offense gets better, I think it's a win-win. I am one of the few people that look at the Patriots and say it was a win-win for Tom Brady leaving. The Patriots got a jump start on the revamping of their offense by being in position to draft Mac Jones. So Tom Brady's going on to win Super Bowls and win MVPs and play at his level with the Buccaneers, but that also put the Patriots in position to start their rebuilding process sooner. Look at the Steelers. Like, we're sitting here acting like, the Patriots were wrong for what they did, but I guarantee you, I bet the Steelers wish they would have probably made that decision a year or two ago to move on from Big Ben. And so that's why I'm like, in this situation right here, although it's a different position, very different scenario, at the end of the day, I think that if he goes on, I don't think there's going to be anyone saying, see, the Browns screwed him up. No, sometimes it's just not a fit. We see it in basketball all the time. Sometimes players just aren't a fit with a certain team. OBJ is just not a fit with this team. And maybe it is on Stefanski. I don't know. But when Jarvis and everyone else was playing at a high level last year without him, you can't say it's Stefanski's scheme that's keeping receivers from flourishing, because they flourished last year. They're not flourishing this year. And there you go.
I think it's a lot to do with style of receiver. Like, Jarvis Landry is almost like a running back. You know, he doesn't run deep routes. His game is across the middle. His game is quick outs and things of that nature. OBJ's game is not that. OBJ is an explosive down the field receiver. So in those plays, they just don't do them like at all. Like, so like you even go back to when Landry tried to play as an outside receiver his first like 2 years with the Dolphins, and then they moved him on the inside. That's when he started having these 100-catch seasons and things of that nature. You know, he's a physical receiver. OBJ's not a physical receiver, like strong, like I'm trying to run somebody over. Like his game is based upon speed and stretching the field. And that's not the offense that they're running right now. And like that, for me, if I'm a Browns fan, I can't imagine saying like, all right, it's a tough spot regardless. I can't imagine trading him tomorrow, because tomorrow's a trade deadline, and them getting a can of peanuts for him because of everything we invested and everything we given up for him. And then to watch him potentially go to Green Bay, because that seems like to be the hot button team for him for some reason, because obviously it's Aaron Rodgers. And then in the same breath, I'm thinking to myself, like, hold on, dude. Like, we got to make this work. Somehow we got to make this work. So the Browns are in a tough spot, because I know people in the fan base still think they can unlock it. But I'm thinking to myself, like,
2.5 years, man. Like, it's
two
done.
Different coaching staffs, two different styles of play, too. Wide open, throw it all over the place with Freddie
Technically
Kitchens.
3.
Yeah.
Technically 3, but you're right.
Yeah. So, and then this style. So what do you want more? You want the flashy thing that's scoring a whole bunch of touchdowns, or do you want the thing that's going to get you wins? Take the wins.
Bottom line right now, too, the Browns still have him for 2 more years. Actually, you know what? No, they should not trade him by the deadline tomorrow. Not for hope, what you said of hoping to salvage it. I don't think it's salvageable. I just don't. It's not worth square peg, round hole. We've done this for 2.5 years. But if there is a play at Aaron Rodgers in the offseason, the play is OBJ and Baker draft picks for Aaron Rodgers. That's the play. That's the play to me. And OBJ and Baker as a tandem, even though the tandem doesn't work in Cleveland.
That's what I was saying.
Even though it doesn't work in, but like either way, but it to me it works. To me it works. Like to me that would have to be their best bet. But you're right. I mean, but they still have 2 more years with the option. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2024.
Right.
So they got.
I know a lot of that money comes off the books if they cut him at the end of the season, as opposed to doing some trade stuff now. So like that's what I would be worried about. You know, that's what Andrew Berry.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's crunching the numbers, doing what GMs do, trying to figure out what's the best move. But it's definitely a hot button issue, man. Like the receivers are definitely a hot button issue with the Browns. I mean, you look at Jarvis Landry, not only with the drop, but then the fumble, and then you also had, you know, Hollywood Higgins had a drop, and something I think people are overlooking a lot. It was I want to say was it 4th and 10 or 3rd and 10? One of them. No, it's 3rd and 10. Got that false start. It's a wrap. You 3rd and 15 versus Steelers. You know what's about to happen, and exactly what we thought was going to happen happened. You got pressure from the outside from T.J. Watt. Had to step up in the pocket, check it down for a 5-yard gain, and that was it. So. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
I just wish the Browns had the Steelers without their main pass rushers. That's all I wish. But no, yesterday, look, the Browns dropped to 4-4 with a lot. Look, you look at all. I mean, people making fun of the Browns in last place. The Browns 4-4. They're a game and a half out of first still, like the AFC North. I mean, my goodness, you know, I will give the Bengals this. The Bengals are why the AFC North is probably the best division in football right now, because we don't know who the best team. Like, I know the Steelers aren't the best team in the AFC North. Doesn't mean they won't make the playoffs, because, I mean, my goodness, like they're just a good organization, good coach, good overall roster. It's good enough. But like, we don't know who the overall favorite is. Last week, everyone said, oh, man, it's the Bengals division. It's the Bengals NFL. Everyone else should just quit and hand them the trophy now, right? Like that was last week. Now the Bengals are back to being the Bengals. The Browns are the Browns. The Ravens, we'll find out who they are coming off the bye week. I mean, they get destroyed by the Bengals 1 week. They have the bye week. How will they build on it? But you look at all the other last place teams. You have a win. You have winless teams, 1-win teams. You have horrible teams in last place. The Browns, fine. By the numerical order, yes, they're a last place team right now, but they're not a last place team. They're not a bad football team. Like we are We have come a long way with the Browns. At 4-4, 5-6 years ago, 4-4, we'd be that city would be just jumping for joy. But this is what happens when the expectation meter continues to move and expand. The pressure eats you a little bit. And I wonder if that's what this is. Like, last year was kind of house money. New coach, right? In a weird COVID year, everything else like that. So if they had success, it was a great story. If they failed, it's because it's the Browns. Well, you win 12 games or 11 games. I keep saying 13. Someone corrected me on that. You're right. My bad on that. They went 11-5 last year in the regular season. I kept saying 12-4. I projected 12-4 and was a game short. They went 11-5. They won 12 total games because of the playoff win against the Steelers. Playoff win against the Steelers at Pittsburgh. Like, you do all of that, all of those things, and then you add to the defense the way that they did. They're underperforming. I don't think that they were overrated. I don't think they were overrated coming in. I know I'm not. It sounds like I'm making excuses. Folks, they deserved the attention they got coming in. Building off of last year, spending the money they did on the defense, the draft picks, Koromoa, those guys, they killed it. This is just an underperforming team that is choking under pressure or injuries, whatever it is. But I'm done making excuses. They're just not playing good enough football to be praised. That's why yesterday when they lost, Bengals fans are waiting for me to chirp. I had fun with my Doug Heffernan post. I just said, is anyone else big King of Queens fans? I love King of Queens. I love this show. And it was Doug Heffernan and his Jets. I love that show growing up. Doug Heffernan, he's a big Jets fan. But, I had fun with the Jets win over the Bengals. But overall, I'm not ripping the Bengals. It is what it is. You're going to have those. 17 games. We saw last year the Rams lose to the Jets. We saw last year's 12-win playoff win Browns lose to the Jets. It happens. So the Bengals will be fine. That's why I said the Browns, to me, the loss was worse for them yesterday because the Bengals had an off day the way the Ravens had an off day last week. I said last week, the Bengals had a fantastic game. They will never look as good again the rest of the season as they looked against the Ravens. That's not a shot at them. That's just the reality. I also said the Ravens would never look as bad the rest of the way as they looked against the Bengals. I think that the truth of who both teams are was kind of in the middle somewhere. Flaws. Whenever things aren't going well, their flaws will eat them alive. But when things are going well, their strengths will, carry both of them. That's the Bengals and Ravens. Very, very. I think the Ravens are still the better team, even though they got manhandled by the Bengals. I still think that. And Bengals fans, if you think you're better than the Ravens because you destroyed them last week, then that means you would have to admit that the Jets are better than you. And football doesn't work that way. So I'm not ripping you. I'm telling you right now, I'm defending you. The Bengals are fine. That loss yesterday, that happens to young football teams. Second-year quarterback who just completed his 16th game, just 2 weeks ago. As a coach in Zach Taylor, who doesn't really have a whole lot of veteran leadership on this team to begin with. So it's just one of those things where that was going to happen. It was a trap game. You were as high could be after destroying the Ravens. You have the Browns coming up this Sunday. And then you had to find a way to find that motivation, to find that hunger, to find that drive for a bad Jets team. So that's tough. That's tough for the Browns. That's tough for Kev Steelers. That's tough for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. That's tough for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. That type of scenario eats teams alive more times than not. Yesterday didn't teach me nothing about the Bengals other than it just reminded me they're young. It needs to remind you that of the same thing. Sometimes their youth will eat them. That's what happened yesterday. The Bengals are fine. They're not bad. The Jets aren't better than the Bengals. The Bengals have one of the top defenses in the NFL. The Bengals defense is why I believe in them. The offense, I don't believe in the Bengals because of their offense. Their offense makes them interesting. Jamar Chase is fun. He's a draw. Joe Burrow is interesting. He's a draw. But overall, the reason they lost yesterday is because of all the 3 and outs. But that's what we've been seeing. The offense really didn't have as bad a game as people think. The offense was pretty normal. That's who Joe Burrow is. He's going to throw for some decent yards. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns. He's going to get, I love the stat line. There were so many receivers that caught a touchdown. It was 3 touchdowns, 3 different receivers. One was Jamar Chase, of course. He's 20 total touchdowns on the year. Joe Burrow's throwing a lot of touchdowns, but that offense is not very efficient. Like the touchdowns are what everyone keeps going towards, and that's great. And I'm jealous of that. The Browns went from one of the top teams in scoring touchdowns last year to not being able to find the end zone this year. So I'm jealous of that. All right. But they're not very efficient offensively. A ton of 3 and outs, not just yesterday, but all season. That's who the Bengals are offensively. They're not going to overwhelm you offensively. They're going to hit you in the mouth once or twice a game with the big plays between Burrow and Jamar Chase. But then there's a lot of fluff in the middle. which is okay because that's where they can learn to grow and get better. I'm not ripping you guys today. I decided to take today off. So if you think I'm ripping you, you need to get your panties out of a wad, because I'm really just pointing out flaws that even the biggest Bengal homers are pointing out, in Cincinnati media. So I'm not telling you anything that you probably haven't heard from them, but you just hate it coming from me. They still got to get better at being more efficient offensively, and I believe they will. Burrow's in technically just starting year 2, even though this is officially year 2. He just completed his 16th game. Jamar Chase is still a rookie receiver. He's only going to get better. The Bengals have a higher ceiling to get better moving forward. The Browns concern me. The reason I say the Browns' loss was worse yesterday is because I still don't know who the hell they are. I know what they're capable of, but I don't know who the hell they are. And it's not just Baker that everyone puts the blame on Baker. Baker's numbers are actually, outside of touchdowns, better this year than last year, as we've been through. But it's the receivers who are worse this year. The defense is somehow worse this year, despite all the money that was put into it. Stefanski's worse this year, despite him being one of the hottest up-and-coming coaches in football. There's problems everywhere, folks. This isn't a quarterback issue. This isn't a secondary issue. This isn't a OBJ issue. This is a lot of things that need to be fixed in a short amount of time, and I don't know if it's going to be fixed in time. My hair will be as purple as Barney next week if the Browns don't prepare something this week, because the Bengals are pissed. Like, that's what ticks me off even more. I'm actually mad that they lost yesterday, because what I didn't want was an angry, motivated Bengals team who would already be motivated to play the Browns. They got embarrassed by the Jets. You think that Macaulay Culkin and company aren't showing up to Paul Brown today with their game faces on, ready to go? There's no jokes. They're not making fun of that dumb little cart that they keep putting on social media. They're not playing with their little WWE belts that they've been handing off. They're not worrying about what dances they're going to have in the end zone. They are focused on not letting that Jets performance come back again. That was a learning thing for them yesterday. Mm-hmm. Like, that was actually a good. When you look back and ask me what game was bigger, the Jets or the Ravens, Kev, and I'm not trolling here, I'm being serious. The Bengals are going to benefit more from yesterday's loss to the Jets than the Ravens win a week ago, because now you learned how tough it is coming off an emotional win like that against the Ravens and how to prepare the next week. Now they know this taste is in their mouth, and they know how quickly you could be embarrassed in the NFL, and now it sucks. So I think they learned a lot yesterday, and that scares me as a Browns fan, because they're going to be angry, pissed off, motivated, and usually you don't see good teams like the Bengals have bad weeks like that back-to-back. That's what I'm concerned about, and I'm not making excuses. I've already made the joke about my hair's going to be as purple as Barney if the Browns don't figure it out. I'm confident the Bengals will put it together. I'm not confident about the Browns right now, and that worries me. 518-1410. Kev, who's on line 2?
We got...
Is this Bob?
I don't know who that is.
How you doing?
Who is this?
No, Bob is
This is Nick.
Nick, how are you, sir? Thank you for being patient with me. How are you today? Go ahead and let me have it, or whatever you got to say.
No, I just kind of wanted to reflect off what you guys were saying earlier about Odell Beckham. You guys said you wouldn't trade him until the end of the season, or at least Kevin did. And I think that would be crazy. I think he needs to go right now, and if he can go for a 7th, if you can get a 7th out of him and they take on that contract, then you do it. The numbers without Odell, it's just, you see it. You see it in the fine print. They're a lot better. Baker's a lot better. The team seems to be a lot better. And then, if they want to add a guy, I get that too. But at the same time, Donovan Peoples-Jones is right there going to be coming back next week, and I would give him every single one of Odell's targets.
All 6 of them.
In practice too.
No, I know what you're trying. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at. Yes, I see what you're saying.
It just doesn't fit. I think they're a better team without him. Weirdly, I think it puts Stefanski in a weird spot, because he was so great at making calls last year, and sometimes this year it's like he doesn't know what he's doing. And I just think they'll be a better football team if they get that guy off the field.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Kev, what do you think? It's like there's a lot of, I've never seen a scenario that's so 50-50 in regards to, there's a lot of pros to trading him, and there's equally the same amount of cons as trading him right now. And Nick, I don't disagree with anything you said, but at the same time, there's a pit in my stomach. Like, it sounds weird saying we need to get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. because, like, to Kev's point, Nick, what if he goes on to, let's say, Green Bay, Tampa, or wherever they would trade him to, and he just lights it up again, and then the Browns look bad in that scenario?
Well, that's okay, because Brashard Perriman looked a lot better in a Browns uniform than Odell Beckham has. And then another thing, too, that you guys are forgetting, it wasn't Andrew Berry in that front office. It wasn't Kevin Stefanski and that coaching staff that brought Odell Beckham here. You know, that was John Dorsey's. That was John Dorsey's team. So that front office doesn't lose anything. John Dorsey gets the L on that.
Well, think real quick, Nick, if you think back to when the Browns got OBJ, he was one of the top 5 hottest receivers in football. Do you think that if Andrew Berry was here that year that he would have turned down an offer for him at that time? Like, it's easy now to say that, okay, they made a mistake, but you know what I mean? Like, at that time, I think any team, if the Giants would have made it work, that would have been interested in OBJ.
At that time, I don't think it was the wrong decision. I just think
you're saying it's wrong now to continue trying to force it to work.
Correct. I mean, just because none of the guys are there. None of the guys are there, and it just doesn't work. And it's not Baker's fault. It's not, it's not Odell's fault. It just does not work. And then we can talk how bad Jarvis was yesterday too, but that was really Jarvis's first bad game in 2 years.
Agreed.
So I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack. You don't ever see Jarvis dropping balls like that. Usually you see him going up over cornerbacks and making crazy catches like Odell used to do. So it just doesn't work. I just think right now, if you can get a 7th out of him and get that money back, and Hooper too. Hooper drops balls too. I mean, you got $40 million between Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and Austin Hooper, and Hooper drops a lot of balls too. And you still got Wyatt Teller, and if you're going to pay Denzel Ward if he's not a big jar of glass by the end of the season. so you have more guys that more important to that team than Odell Beckham Jr., who's going to give you 1 catch for 6 yards. I know for a fact
for cheaper.
If they put Donovan Peoples-Jones on the field, he will produce way better than Odell Beckham is right now.
All right, that was actually a very good argument on that side, and you actually have me swayed a little bit more. I actually do agree with you, Nick. Hey, Nick,
I'm not Justin. I'm not sweating the division yet. The NFL is weird. I mean, we just seen the Jets beat the Bengals.
Yeah.
We just seen the Saints without Jameis Winston beat the Tom Brady and the Bucs. Somebody's going to get hot in the AFC North. I thought it was going to be the Bengals there for a minute, and then the Jets happened, and Mike White. And I'm not going to give them crap. I wanted to call in and give them crap, but I can't because we just lost to the Steelers. But I'm a little less upset about this loss because I just feel like Baker looked good. He brought all kinds of energy. I mean, you're talking about 6 incompletions yesterday. If those guys catch those balls, it was not Baker. If you're going to call and blame it on Baker, you just need to go root for a different team. It was not on Baker Mayfield whatsoever. It was on them receivers.
Nick, that part I'm with you 1,000,000%. That's what I was talking about a little bit ago, especially the last 2 drives. And you had all those drops, including the fumble from Jarvis, and just Baker had that place ready. I mean, if there was a roof on it, it would have been blown off because when he got popped on the sideline, everyone was concerned. And that dude didn't lay there. He got up and he fist pumped and he was screaming and the crowd was going nuts. And then the very next play, he completes it to Jarvis and it was a fumble. And it was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like everything that can go wrong is going wrong. Like when it goes right, it goes wrong.
I watched Stefanski call one play action bootleg to where Baker got out of the pocket yesterday. And I don't understand. I don't know if it was to avoid a hit, but it's just, that is the bread and butter of the Cleveland Browns.
Yesterday he did
cutting
say
the field in half.
Stefanski said in the press conference, he said that because he was asked about that, he said Pittsburgh had that sniffed out the whole time. They already had someone there ready to take that away, so they were making adjustments throughout the game. I will give him the benefit of the doubt for that. But the thing is, I mean, who's to say that the Bengals won't have that sniffed out ready to take away? I mean, every team is going to have that sniffed out ready to take it away. You just got to do it better. So I like his response, but at the same time, I'm like, well, every team's going to look to take that away then if you're just going to give up on it because someone's showing. So, that's the problem. I guess now I'm in the mid-conversation. Now I have a problem with it where I didn't have a problem with it earlier.
Yeah, you have to stay true to who you are, and you're not a 5-wide team. You want Nick Chubb on the field with 2 or 3 tight ends as much as possible, and because that's just who you are. You're an 11 personnel team. You're not a 5-wide. That's the Bengals. That's the Packers. That's what they do. We're not them. The only way we're going to win football games is staying true to who we are, running the football good, and making the plays, with the passing game when they can be made.
All right. Well, hey, Nick, good stuff, man. I appreciate everything you brought to the show today. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
518-1410. I think one thing we've learned during the stretch too was just how much of a loss Kareem Hunt was. I used to think that, Nick Chubb is great. Kareem Hunt is very, very good, but Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb together, Kareem Hunt before he left was the Browns' leading receiver on top of, but 518-1410. I know we have Bob. I know we have Charles. I see some more guys calling in. I'm going to do a better job of not rambling when I come back, and we're going to get right to the calls. If you could just trust me for one more commercial break, callers, I promise you, you are my top priority on the other side. 518-1410. When I come back, no rambling. It's just, hey, it's the Justin Kinner Show. To the phones we go. We got Bob, we got Charles. I see we got a Tim and an Eric and some others. I promise you guys are our first priority when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 54. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy, a low near 36. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 50. I'm Pete Spyback for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane, making buying propane easy since 1952, offering budget billing and pre-buy options. Find out more at culletpropane.com.
500,000 businesses connect using Zoom, a single platform for video, phone, chat, and conference rooms. Zoom enables real-time collaboration no matter where your teams are. Global enterprises trust the easy-to-use, reliable, and secure Zoom platform to power high-performance teams. Empower your workforce with Zoom. Save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with a Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
Mow like a pro with Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers. They engineer their mowers to be maintenance and service friendly for the everyday homeowner while not sacrificing the build and cut quality they're known for. From the heavy-duty frame to the welded steel deck to their trademark smooth track steering, Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers deliver professional grade cut quality for a perfectly manicured lawn. Come in to Small Engine Service Pros to see the Hustler difference for yourself today. Small Engine Service Pros, 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
This is National School Lunch Week, a time to thank the education support professionals who keep our kids fed and ready to focus on their learning. Now more than ever, they have gone above and beyond to care for our kids, adapting to the challenges of the pandemic to meet all our students' needs.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Whether you're vaccinated or not, it's important to know the symptoms of COVID and its variants. Fever is the leading sign of COVID and the flu, so make sure you use an accurate thermometer. Only the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer has been proven accurate with more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers have no clinical evidence behind them, and you cannot rely on them. Be vigilant and seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but. With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I promised you I wouldn't ramble, and I'm not. But I do have to plug that tonight we got Ohio State basketball. Tomorrow, the first college football playoff poll will be revealed, and I'm hoping that the Buckeyes are in the top 4. I think that they should be, but we'll see. But tonight, Ohio State basketball, well, it's a big one, Kev.
Who they got?
The biggest exhibition game in the area. Well, no, that's not true. The Dayton Flyers have Cedarville tonight. We'll talk about that later. But right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, immediately following the show, Ohio State against the University of Indianapolis, baby. So there you go. UIndy. But yeah, 6:15 pregame, 7 o'clock the tip. All right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I can't believe it. So UD has their game tonight. I guess it's a sellout. I mean, look, fans are itching. I'm happy for UD fans. I'm happy for all college basketball fans who get to fill up an arena this year. Like, we slowly started to see football fill up with the arenas, Kev, like basketball. Like, that stunk last year. Last season was horrible.
Yes.
It got to the point where I was like, this basketball, I love basketball so much, but man, it's good to be back, and it's good to be, having arenas full of fans and screaming fans. And so I'm pumped about basketball season, but 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to give us a call. We talked about the Browns and the Bengals' embarrassing losses yesterday. I haven't ripped the Bengals. I was critical of their loss, just as equally critical of the Browns' loss. I thought that the Browns and Bengals did one thing yesterday, and that was team up to embarrass the state of Ohio. It is what it is. But yeah, both losses were bad for a lot of different reasons, but the end result was an interesting race to the finish line. It's going to be a fun race to the finish line.
Absolutely.
Though. Like, that's what I'm jacked about. And the Browns-Bengals game still means something this week, folks, but like, you have to agree with me. A battle for first, that's what I was waiting for. I wanted the Bengals to win yesterday. For one, they cost me money. That was my knockout eliminator pick yesterday.
Thought you weren't a gambler.
It's for fun. It's not fun when you lose, though. But that's why Byers was laughing. He goes, if you talked all that smack about the Bengals before, wait till they cost you money, because there's a lot of money on the line for this fun, non-real money wagering game that we play. 518-1410. Thoughts on the Browns and the Bengals loss yesterday? 518-1410. Kev, who's on 2?
We got a different Bob on 2.
Bob on 2. How are you, sir?
I think you're right. I switched majors maybe a year.
Hey, Bob.
Hello. Yes.
What are you doing, man? You outside? You ordering in the drive-thru? What are you getting?
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Don't apologize. I'm the one that left you on hold for so long. You can't just sit there and wait, but you did, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to agree. Baker Mayfield is not blame for the Cleveland Browns loss. Everybody else is. He played phenomenal yesterday. Phenomenal. And there are people if you watch the social media, as you always do, people are already bitching. Oh, sorry. No, people are already complaining about bitching. Okay. You can say that. All right. About his performance. I'm like, what more can you ask? He basically played flawless football, controlled the game, and his receivers dropped the ball. Landry, the last drive at the end of the game, dropped the ball and cost them the game. But that's Baker's fault, that his receiver dropped the ball and cost them the game. The defense played, mediocre. I give them a C- in the way they played. But, I mean, just to hear people bash on Baker has just got me really, really frustrated. What are your takes on that?
I know that's what I've been saying. I thought that, look, and he's the quarterback, and that's the nature of that position. So, yesterday you look at Big Ben didn't have a horrible game, but the story today is...
I got to go shopping now. Later. Yeah, my good brother. It's just a buddy of mine stopped by. I heard me talking to him. He's like, "Are you really talking?" Yeah, dude. Leave me alone. No, it makes me upset. Baker plays good. They talk trash. He plays like crap. Okay, you have a right to talk trash. Bengals, like you said, it's a learning experience for them all the way around. The defense. I mean, if Burrow doesn't throw that pick, I think the Bengals ain't going to win that game. But it's a lot of what ifs, and I still say the Browns win by 3 points this coming weekend. That is all, my good man. Go Browns, go Cowboys.
Good stuff, Bob. Thank you for the call. I thought a lot of the criticism towards Baker yesterday, it's part of it. He brings it upon himself. He's look at me. And then when things aren't going well, they're still looking at you. So you can't have it both ways. No, I thought yesterday, I don't think there was one particular person to blame the Browns loss on yesterday. I think that was a complete team loss.
Yeah.
That was a complete team loss yesterday. Yesterday for the Bengals, I blame the defense. The defense lost the Bengals the game against the Jets yesterday because the offense gave you what they normally gave you. Joe Burrow's going to give you that 250 to 300 yards a game. He's going to give you those couple touchdowns. I think he's the only quarterback in the NFL to throw 2 or more touchdowns in every game this year. They got, he's going to put points up. He did his job. I still think it's fair to be critical of the interception he threw late. That's the second game that the Bengals have. I mean, the Bengals have only lost 3 times, and you can argue Joe Burrow has lost both of them, and that's not me hating. And if that was a team with the quarterback throwing those interceptions late in games, for anybody else, you Bengals fans would agree, but because he's your precious baby boy, you can't tell someone their baby's ugly. You're going to say he's the cutest baby in the world and that he can do no wrong. It's okay to criticize that interception yesterday. I'm not necessarily saying that's what cost him the game, but the defense didn't put him in position to win that football game. Joe Burrow didn't do his job, though, to keep them from losing that game either. Should not have thrown that pick late in the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, he didn't throw the pick.
Shaq
Lawson made a play. Like it was
threw an interception. If Baker, I'm not going to allow you to defend that. That was an interception.
Interception is what he did with the Green Bay game. Like he would have thrown. Like Shaq Lawson made a play. Like it's a screen pass. Shaq Lawson just comes out of the ground, basically, bats it up in the air and picks it off. Like it wasn't like, oh man, I'm dropping back, I'm trying to fit it into a window that I shouldn't fit it into. Like it was a play made by Shaq Lawson, man.
So let me get this straight. You've done did piss me off now. Let me get this straight, Kevin. Not Kev. You're Kevin. No. Let me get this straight. Earlier, I'm defending Baker. I say he had 7 drops in the game, and you get all analytical. I mean, like, well, I don't know about 7. I mean, you got FOP or POF or whatever. You start breaking down. Well, I mean, look, are we counting a drop as a drop, or if he's hit while he's dropping it? You get all analytical, but with Burrow, oh man, I don't know if it's an interception. I mean, you get all detailed with it and everything.
I got detailed with that too. I was saying like, how is it? I don't necessarily
look bad by that.
Like, I was saying that I thought that 7 drops were a tad high. Like I don't look at a drop as, when you hit your hands, you drop it. Like the Hollywood Higgins, absolute a drop. The first one that Landry dropped, absolutely. But like the other ones, like, yes, you as a wide receiver in the NFL, you're expected to make tough catches. Sometimes I don't think a lot of those plays should be classified as drops. I think it's just like, all right, man, it's an incompletion. Like the dude roughhoused him to the ground and it came out his hands. Like it's tipped your cap to the other player. Like that's how I feel. We talked about this before. Like I'm in the credit giving business. I get a dude, Shaq Lawson, a lot of credit. Defensive end that weighs like 380 pounds to have a 40-inch vertical and then not only back the ball up in the air, but to catch it too. Like that's a heck of a play.
That's all fine and dandy. I don't care if he flew a jet in and did it. The bottom line is Joe Burrow threw an interception with the ball in his territory, with the lead, in crunch time in the fourth quarter. Joe Burrow had a great game until that point. The defense is the problem. You gave it 30-plus points to the Jets. But all things considered, in that scenario, regardless of how you got there, because the Browns defense is also why Baker is in that position often more times than not, giving up 30-plus points a game, and yet Baker doesn't lead the team down to win the football game. It's on him, and we're not going to focus on the 30-plus points that the defense gave up. So I'm playing by everybody else's rules, holding Burrow to the Baker expectations. Don't throw interceptions. We don't nitpick Baker's expectations or interceptions and talk about how, well, if the receiver wouldn't have tripped and fallen, that guy wouldn't have caught it, or if the receiver, didn't, drop it, bounce off his foot, and the secondary get it. No, we don't dissect Baker's interceptions like that, so I'm not going to allow it with Joe Burrow, even if Kevin's right. We were on a roll. I was doing so good today. But no, I've been very nice about the Bengals. People were thinking I was going to rip the Bengals today. No, Bengals had a bad game. It happens. You string some together, I'm going to be laughing at you like crazy. I really felt like I was going to be breaking out the laughter. Like I wanted to use that today, but that wasn't funny yesterday. It was just a bad game. But the Bengals do that a couple more times, then we're going to have a lot of laughing to do on this show. But I've said it before. The Bengals defense was bad yesterday. That's not who the Bengals defense is. Joe Burrow throwing interceptions late in games, regardless of his fault or not. We've seen that a lot. He throws a lot of interceptions. So the offense was who they were. Joe Burrow throwing touchdowns, Joe Burrow throwing interceptions, Jamar Chase catching touchdowns, the wide receiving core living up to the expectations. They're doing their thing. Kudos to them. So the offense, not blaming them for yesterday. Defense, that was all on the defense yesterday. No business losing to the Jets, but it's a young team. It happens. Who's on line 3, Kev?
We got Bob Love.
Mr. Love. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. What's happening?
I thought the last Bob was you, and I'm like, this don't sound like Bob. But
well, a Browns fan, you had to go ahead and get him, man. And
I didn't know he was a Browns fan, but they're calling in today. How about that?
I know, and he's got people talking to him. He ain't even ready to go, man.
Well, us Browns fans, we're just so popular, Bob. You got to understand. Like everyone, when people know Browns fans, they want to be around them. We're just a loving bunch. I'm just saying.
I
Mr.
know.
Love.
Hey, first of all, I'm going to say kudos to the Jets. And I can't wait to see Mr. Mike White play on Thursday to see whether or not that was real. That was one of the most impressive performances I think I've seen all year. That dude only put like 7 passes on the ground the whole time.
Yeah, he was 10 of 10? Didn't he start out like 10 for 10? I mean, he just zipped that ball down the field. It was impressive.
And got a great arm, too. That dude and they play the Colts on Thursday night, so I'm very curious to see what they do. And kudos also to their coaching staff. They pulled out all the stops. I don't know if you guys saw the game. Them dudes were running flea flickers, reverses, Philly specials. I give them kudos. The Bengals defense didn't know what to do. They couldn't have prepared for what the Jets played because the Jets threw everything but the kitchen sink. So kudos to the Jets. Now, let's get back to which one was the worst loss. Again, like I always say, that's why I don't check, go down the schedule and check nothing because, again, any given day, because they're all professionals. The worst loss was absolutely the Browns, and the only reason why was because it was a division game. That's the way I look at it. But I still say, like Aaron Rodgers always, relax, man. This is the midseason. Everybody's still in it. Everybody's going to do stupid stuff. Everybody still have a chance.
No, Bob, I agree with you. That's why I don't think that the Bengals loss was that big a deal yesterday because the Bengals haven't looked like that all year. That's why, as you know me, I'm always trying to find reasons to put them down. I was like, yesterday, everyone's like, oh, Kinder's going to let them have it. I'm like, they're having an off week. That happens in the NFL. We haven't seen them look like that. The reason I agree, and now, by the way, I agree with you, the Browns' loss was worse. But the reason I think the Browns' loss was worse and more concerning is because a lot of the struggles we saw in that Steelers game, we've seen those struggles in previous games. That's why I'm not overreacting to it, but I'm starting to get a little nervous about it because we're not seeing this team get better. The Bengals are getting better each week. Yesterday, not counting yesterday, they're getting better each week. I don't believe the Browns are getting better every week. It's like we're adding one more bullet point to the list of concerns for the team. And that's why I'm starting to get a little uncomfortable about what we're seeing from Cleveland.
And what I think that goes back to, the same thing with the OBJ situation. I think it's coaching. I hate to say that. Let me tell you this. I coached basketball for about 12, 13 years. A coach has 2 responsibilities. Put his best players in positions to succeed is number one. And also make adjustments when adjustments are needed. And I don't see that from Cleveland's coaching staff. If I got OBJ and if I'm not going to get rid of him and he's going to be on my team, I know you're a run first team, but I'm going to come out designing things to get that guy involved at the beginning of the game. That's a coaching decision. You have to do that. And let me give you an example of that. A couple of weeks ago, remember when T. Higgins was out and when he came back in that Green Bay game, the Baltimore game last week, Joe Burrow, they designed to throw that ball to him about 10 times in a row to get him focused because he dropped a big 4th down pass in that Green Bay game just to get his mind. And to me, as a coach, that's what you have to do. And I don't see that from Cleveland. Get that guy involved. If you wait till the 3rd quarter and then start throwing in passes, mentally, he's a professional and he should be playing well, but he's not even in the game. Mentally, he's not even in the game. And I don't think he's a cancer in the locker room. I've never heard anything. None of us have ever heard that. But I think as a coach, you got to get that guy involved. And then also
what if you can't, though? What if, with you being a coach, I'm sure you've run into scenarios where you're getting a lot of, well, how come you're not playing this player? How come you're not playing that player? Because they believe that player is really good. But you're seeing in practice that this player has a lot of things that aren't contributing to the team to be successful. successful. So that justifies why you don't play them. Like, I agree with everything you're saying, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of Stefanski forcing the ball to him if what he sees in practice is still not leading to the Browns looking as efficient offensively. But it's hard to make that argument when they look as inefficient as they have been.
But you know one thing about that, though, Justin, everybody's not a practice player either. I've seen guys that in practice, they stink, and they can go out and give you 30. This guy's a superstar. I still think he still has the same talent. If he went to someone else and they featured him, he would do better. Now, I'm not talking about forcing it to him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about getting him involved early, any way you can, short passes, whatever the case might be, so that this guy mentally is engaged. At least try that. I haven't seen them try that at all. And then the other thing I do want to bring out before I let someone else have a chance, adjustments. Cleveland runs the same thing. Run the ball, and just like the one caller Nick pointed out, your bread and butter, roll out to the right. Well, guess what? Everybody knows you're going to do that. That's not going to work against Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati because we all know that that's what Cleveland likes to do. They're going to take away things that you like to do. They've seen Kevin's playbook from last year. Kevin, make some adjustments. That's where I would have concern about the Browns because I don't see any adjustments whatsoever in their game. But I think they're still in it. Good team. Make some adjustments. I think a lot of it's on their coaching staff.
All right, good stuff, Bob. Appreciate the call, man.
All right, fellas.
518-1410.
How old is Stefanski?
I don't know. He has that salt and pepper beard thing working real well for him. I don't know. I don't know if, he's... I'm going to laugh if he's younger than Zach Taylor, and I've been ripping the Browns for Bengals for Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, you look up that. Zach Taylor, I think, is 37 years old? You're looking up Stefanski, right?
Yeah, Stefanski. Oh, man. Stefanski's 38.
So he's the same age as Zach Taylor, and I've been ripping the Bengals for hiring a child. Actually, no, I don't regret that because at the same time, Zach Taylor had no business going from quarterbacks coach to a head coach. Stefanski worked his way up. He was running an offense and all that stuff. So there's a slight difference there. So there you go. But
no, I'm wrong. Stefanski just turned 39 in May.
Oh, okay.
But
so he's 1 year older because Zach Taylor's 38 as well. So there's that. But
is he?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Shaw, he's 39. 39. He's on it. And then Shaw wants to talk. He's like, how about the World Series? How about it? Your team choked away a 4-0 lead in the first. You hit a grand slam in the first inning. Dusty Baker's coming for you, man.
Hey, man, look, let's be clear. I am rooting for the Bravos. I am rooting for the Braves because one of my best friends, he's a Braves fan. So that's why I'm rooting for them. And also, that whole trash can thing. Yes, I know everybody wants to see Dusty Baker win one. Not this year, though. Not this year.
It's his last chance.
Not this year.
He's going to have to wait 20 more years before he gets back to the World Series like last time.
Not this year.
And by the way, the whole trash can thing, that I can't wait for when they do come back and win, and then everyone had nothing to talk about. It's just like Tom Brady with the deflated footballs, Once he won that other Super Bowl, everyone just be quiet.
No, the reason why I'm mad about it still is because baseball didn't allow the players to do their own justice like they always do. If they would have let the players handle it, let a couple dudes get beamed in the back with a ball, then I'll be like, all right, we're moving on. But baseball had to come in. No, you hit somebody with a ball, you're going to be suspended for twice as long. Nah, man. They cheated, bruh. They cheated.
They all cheat.
Big time.
They all cheat. And look at all the pitchers cheating. They were wiping crap on their neck so they can get an edge. I mean, the baseball's full of cheaters. That's why I don't feel bad for anyone that's upset about the Astros. Everyone in y'all's team cheats. Everyone. The Reds, you gotta get better at cheating. The Reds are very good at cheating. They're cheating their fans out of good baseball. That's what they do. But everyone else, and that's the thing with the Astros. You think, and this is what I love about the Astros is the fact that everyone wants to see them fail, and they're not failing. They're in the World Series, even after everything. Every ballpark, you have people bringing signs, just screaming at them, most personal attacks you could imagine, just going at these guys. And these guys just go up, hit the ball, put the ball in play, put runs up on the board.
It's really Altuve. It's really Altuve who I want to get it.
So I'm just like, what? All these guys, That's what I love. They're not letting the pressure get to them. They're like, oh, you thought we needed trash cans to win? Well, here we are. Now the pressure's even 11 times what it was when we were cheating, and now we're still winning. That just shows you right there that this is just a talented team. It's like, with the Patriots years ago, I was like, at the end of the day, if you guys believe that flat football is what is the base of the dynasty that was the Patriots, and you don't know football, the Houston Astros, it's beyond shady what they did. But baseball is nothing but shadiness between every imaginable thing you could have, every scandal in baseball. The only time baseball is relevant with national media is when there's a scandal, when there's some kind of gate. Anytime there's cheating, I mean, Pete Rose, you could say he was bad for baseball. He's great for baseball. He's the reason people still talk about baseball half the time outside of your market. Like that stuff, I'm not saying it's good for baseball, but it's sad that your sport's so bad that the only time people talk about it is when you're banging on trash cans, wiping crap on your neck, or betting on baseball. Like that's the only time baseball is relevant. Steroids, betting, crap on your neck, and trash cans. Those 4 factors are the only reason baseball has been as much of a factor as the NFL and the NBA over the years, because not enough people care about the damn product. All we hear about baseball is, oh, the game's too long. The pitchers get taken out too early. Analytics are ruining the game. Crap on people's neck, they're cheating. Steroids, betting on baseball, trash cans. To where the NFL, we're talking about great games, star players. Man, did you see that game? I mean, the Jets are a horrible team, but yet they're front and center. Everyone's talking point today because it's a great story. How many horrible teams in baseball do we talk about? None, because no one cares. So baseball drives me crazy. That the only time, I mean, baseball benefited from Trash Can Gate because it made baseball relevant for a little bit. So there you go.
Should have let somebody get hit by a ball.
That I agree with. I'll agree with you on that. They need to let the players police it.
Yeah, they did it any other time, but this time, no. I just don't understand that. I think it's something we can ask Slim next time we're around them. What's like the White Sox thing, like way back in the day with them throwing the World Series and everything like that. Like, he's a baseball guy. Like, which scandal out of those that you were just talking about, which is worse? Who's worse for the game of baseball? Throwing the World Series, steroids.
Throwing the World Series is the worst because that's the World Series, and you are literally throwing it away like that. Like, to me, there's no competitive. You have no balls.
Can you say that on radio?
Oh, I am now, because that's just an embarrassment. I mean, banging on trash cans, trying to get a little extra grip on a ball. Steroids, you're only hurting yourself, really. Steroids aren't making you hit that ball further. It's just making you bigger, stronger, and available. Not bigger, stronger. Do you think it helps you hit the ball further?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
I don't see how. You put something in your arm. I said, like, you still got to put the bat on the ball.
Yeah.
You still got to hit it far. And if it's making you hit it farther, is it making it, how much further is it to where it's actually helping you hit it out of the ballpark? So that's why I'm like, I just don't see it having that. If anything, those guys took it, of course, to stay healthy, to stay out on the field. Maybe I should have said it shouldn't help you hit it farther, but to sit there and act like you would go from 12 home runs a year to 50 a year because of steroids, I just don't believe
Brady Anderson did.
So
with who Brady Anderson? He played for the Orioles. He went from like 12 home runs to 50 to 55 and then back down to 12.
But if it actually made you hit it further, then everyone that took it would be just knocking it out of the ballpark left and right. And that wasn't the case. There was big names that got caught with it that made it front and center. But
you're not going to go from
Barry Bonds was knocking him out of the park before steroids. He just became a story.
Yeah, he went from hitting from like 35 to 70, though.
But so was the rest of the league.
Nah, not the rest of the league. Everybody wasn't.
The rest of the stars.
It was
the rest of the stars, though.
It takes basically, if you got warning track power, you're going to get it over the fence. Like, it give you that little extra. And then with a dude like Barry Bonds, who's already was knocking him out the park when he was skinny as a rail, and then he got bigger and stronger, now he's hitting out of the stadium. Like, when you're that good as Barry Bonds was, well, let's be clear, Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just became unworldly. Like, literally in that World Series, they couldn't pitch to him because every time he was up.
Steroids,
No, I'm just saying, no, I'm not talking about the steroids. I mean, he was so good. His eye was so good. He could hit so well. They just stopped pitching to him. Just say, you know what? I think it was game 1. He hit a home run, of course. And then they was like, you're not gonna hit the ball. We're gonna walk you every single time. And the one time that they had to pitch to him again, he had another home run. Like, when you're that good, and then you add that extra juice, unstoppable. Barry Bonds was unstoppable.
I don't know. 518-1410. We could talk that too. But I'm not going to put my moral hat on for a sport that's been nothing but immoral from going back all the way to the White Sox that you talked about with that scandal right there. It's just baseball is the dirtiest of them all. I mean,
I can agree with that.
And maybe they're not the dirtiest of them all, but maybe the sport is so non-interesting that those are the biggest headlines of it. Because football, there's been some horrible headlines in football and basketball. But ultimately, the games, the legacies, the players are what we talk about. We don't do that in baseball anymore. I will tell you right now, advanced analytics have killed the game more than steroids. Advanced analytics have killed the interest in the game more than steroids, more than trash cans, more than Pete Rose gambling, because it's made the game less interesting. Your star pitchers that people pay good money to go watch pitch as many innings as they can to 9 innings. You're taking them out in the 4th now. I know the Braves ended up getting the win, but they pulled their pitcher over the weekend who had a no-hitter in the 5th inning. He only had 70 pitches, and you pulled him. Like, Kev, I'm telling you, like, that is hurting the game more than steroids and other stuff. I think you both could be right. It's wrong to cheat. It's wrong to be on steroids. It's wrong for the trash can usage and all that. I mean, we joke about the trash cans, but that's what the kind of the core of what they read.
Right.
It's wrong for all of that. I'm not saying it's okay, but all of those things are wrong, but that's not what hurt the game. Like, fans weren't tuning out because of steroids. They were tuning in because of it. You can argue that the Astros were such a fun story that the cheating got people to tune in. And then after the cheating, more people tuned in because they wanted to watch them fail.
Yeah.
They had a villain.
Yeah.
So you can argue that advanced analytics have killed baseball more than the cheating scandals have, because the cheating scandals make it, we all love drama. We all love, we all love that. We all love the villain. We tune in to watch you. People thought LeBron going to the Miami Heat was going to be bad for the NBA. You know why it was good for the NBA? Because more eyes tuned in to watch LeBron fail. You weren't tuning in to watch him succeed. You wanted to be there when he failed. One of the highest rated NBA finals was that damn Mavericks series against the Heat. And it's not because people tuned in to watch the Heat win. They were wanting to be there to watch LeBron's face as he walked off the floor as a loser. So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm getting a little heated in the debate. Yes, okay, it probably helped him hit it further. But I guess what I meant was steroids across baseball. I think it led to more home runs. I only can't get on board with that is because everyone was on steroids in baseball, but yet we talk about the same 5 names every
You're not
time.
talking about the pitchers. The pitchers very rarely get talked about with steroids. It's normally always the hitter. And like you said, it's always the same, like 8 people that we bring up because they're the stars. That's why they get brought up and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's a very interesting, man. As far as the World Series is concerned, I've been in and out of it. I haven't been watching a ton of the games, but I did see the Braves go up big last night, and I was like, oh, they're going to close it out. And I was like, it's only the 2nd inning. And woke up this morning, they lost.
Yeah,
Shaw, you guys better get it together.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the World Series so you can have your closers starting games for you and all these things. And it's like, I just don't get it. All right, good stuff, guys. 518-1410, 518-1410. Hour number 3. It is already hour 3, but, we'll play a little catch up. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
From city streets to back roads, from road warrior to carpooler, there are some things you can always count on, like the reliability, durability, and power of DieHard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on DieHard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
Heard you're buying a car. I brought my calculator.
Dad, I already used Capital One Auto Navigator. I found my car online and got pre-qualified instantly. Instead of all that.
You know those things impact your credit score.
Didn't impact my credit score, Dad. Now I'm going to the dealership for a test drive and to make the purchase.
Sounds too easy.
No, it's just easy. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/AutoNavigator.
Is your prostate waking you up more often than your alarm clock? The fact is, the older you get, the more likely you'll have prostate problems, which can affect your everyday life. That's where Prostate Complete by Real Health comes in. Prostate Complete is the result of 20 years of experience as a leader in men's health. The powerful formula in Prostate Complete supports natural prostate function and reduced urinary urges for a better quality of life. Available at Walmart. Visit prostateoneperday.com for special offers. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
We have essentially dropped $1 trillion of student loan debt onto the backs of hardworking American families.
Watch a new documentary from Ramsey Solutions, Borrowed Future, How Student Loans Are Killing the American Dream on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, or Google Play.
Hi, this is Kim Frisco, Executive Director of Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission. On Veterans Day, we honor and remember every man and woman who has ever worn the uniform of our country. Americans who stepped forward and swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution and laws of this great nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We must never forget their service and sacrifice. To my fellow veterans, thank you. God bless you, and may Veterans Day and every day bring you joy in the freedoms our country has because of your sacrifices. We also thank our future veterans serving at home and abroad. To those serving around the world today or transitioning out of the military, we are here for you. Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is available to assist you with your VA benefits and emergency financial assistance. If you need assistance, please contact us at 937-225-4801.
Open enrollment for healthcare.gov is here. If you're uninsured or have a job that doesn't offer insurance, check out healthcare.gov. Due to a new law, prices are lower and more people qualify. Now, 4 out of 5 customers pay just $10 a month or less with financial help. It's easier than ever to find the right plan for you, and millions of Americans, just like you, have already enrolled. New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Sign up at healthcare.gov by December 15th. This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
This is National School Lunch Week, a time to thank the education support professionals who keep our kids fed and ready to focus on their learning. Now more than ever, they have gone above and beyond to care for our kids, adapting to the challenges of the pandemic to meet all our students' needs.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Do your pets have the same energy they used to? Do they have problems with itching, scratching, a dull coat, or goopy ears? Then your pets need Dinovite.
DINOVITE.com.
For over 20 years, pet owners have trusted Dinovite to supplement their pet's diet.
We started Dinovite, and in our first box, we noticed a difference.
Dinovite is an all-natural daily supplement made from whole foods that help support your pet's immune system, digestion, skin, and coat.
Within 3 weeks, he's not scratching and itching, and he's an all-around happier dog.
Today's commercial pet foods are processed at high temperatures, which bakes out all the essential goodness. These processed foods can lack the essential vitamins, enzymes, and probiotics that contribute to overall good health. Adding a scoop of Dinovite to your pet's food bowl is the answer.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you'll want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives. I have 2 cats and 2 dogs. All 4 of them are on the Dinovite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
From city streets to back roads. From road warrior to carpooler. There are some things you can always count on. Like the reliability, durability, and power of Die Hard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on Die Hard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
Open enrollment for healthcare.gov is here. If you're uninsured or have a job that doesn't offer insurance, check out healthcare.gov. Due to a new law, prices are lower and more people qualify. Now, 4 out of 5 customers pay just $10 a month or less with financial help. It's easier than ever to find the right plan for you, and millions of Americans, just like you, have already enrolled. New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Sign up at healthcare.gov by December 15th.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. College football playoffs. Browns, WYNG 1410 Dayton.
Knock, knock. Trick or treat. Happy Halloween.
Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Monday. We do have Ohio State basketball coming up here immediately following the show. 6:15, we'll hand it off to the pregame, and, of course, 7 o'clock. So, look, it's an exhibition game, but it's great to hear basketball back on the radio, of course. Dayton Flyers, they have Cedarville tonight, 7 o'clock to tip off there. UD Arena, a sellout. Get to see Deron Holmes and the new recruiting class that's coming in. I mean, look, for UD at this point, it's going to be about just kind of getting familiar with some of these names and some of these new faces coming in. I don't know what to expect. I was a little upset the other day. Elijah Weaver for the Dayton Flyers. Here's what he had to say regarding being ranked 5th in the A10 preseason poll.
I just want to say it's disrespectful. It's disrespect. Top 5. I feel like we're better than the 4 other teams that are above us. So I feel like it's just disrespect.
Look, first of all, if he feels it's disrespectful, more power to him. But I thought that wasn't the place to say that. I don't think it's disrespectful at all. I think that anyone that knows basketball understands that, hey, when you have a roster that was filled with a bunch of guys that was a part of your number 3 ranking in the country 2 years ago, you had your Jalen Crutcher, your Ibby Watson, your Chimunga, and other guys, like all of those guys were a part of that core that was with that Obi Toppin group that was the most storied that was the biggest story in college basketball that year. So last year, it was easier to give him the benefit of the doubt, to give him a higher ranking in the A10 poll because you had Jalen Crutcher, you had Ibby Watson, you had those guys. So losing them and having, one of your top recruiting classes ever, your top recruiting class ever coming in, I can see why you feel disrespected because you want that immediate respect right off the bat. But I actually think, Kev, I don't know about you, when you lose every main piece you have, even if you have a good recruiting class coming in, I actually think 5th in college basketball in a conference that has some established guys already, I'm going to change my tone with how I was last week about it because it really irritated me. But as I've had time to sit back, I love that competitive drive of Weaver to come out and say that. But I don't think it's disrespectful at all. I could see if they came in like 8th or 9th. Okay. I'd still wish you wouldn't say that in a press conference because coaches don't like that. But that to me would be more disrespectful. Being picked 5th when no one knows who the hell any of you are. Right. I actually think it's pretty good. I think the Flyers are going to be pretty good this year. I don't think they're going to win the A10. I don't know if they're a tournament team. We'll see what Anthony Grant does with this unit. Great coach. We'll see. But I don't think it was disrespectful at all, the Flyers coming in at 5th.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand what he's saying. He's just basically letting that locker room conversation go out to the media. And like you talked about, coach probably don't like that. Coach probably want to keep all that stuff in-house and keep that as self-motivation. Everybody doesn't need to know. You kind of say that at the end of the season when you're hoisting the A10 trophy saying we're conference champions. Everybody had us pick 5th, but in our locker room, we knew we were better than that, and we just proved it. It's kind of like that type of
different
talk.
Way to say it.
Absolutely. So, when you're talking about, like, I don't know, take, for instance, Duke, Zion's year, when him and R.J. Barrett showed up on campus along with Cam Reddish. Like, these guys that were all perceived to be one and dones. That's why Duke was ranked so high, because they had a bunch of one and done talent on their team along with a Hall of Fame coach. No disrespect to the guys at UD right now. Don't think they have some one and done guys. That's why they're not being ranked number one in their conference. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of unknown commodities on the team right now. And the best part about sports, it don't matter. It don't matter. Somebody can say you dead last. Guess what? You get an opportunity to go out there on the court and prove them right or prove them wrong. Go prove them wrong. Go prove them wrong. Go win the A-10 and shut them up. Make them eat their words.
Yeah, and like I said, look, UD will be solid. But look, we got to see it first. Deron Holmes is great. We know he's a great high school player. What will his role be here? You would like to think it's going to be a big role, a heavy role with the Flyers, and we shall see. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you have to wait and see. So, yeah, I there's no disrespect there. You're number 5. It's actually pretty solid. Like, no one knows anything about you. You have a couple preseason third team guys. Being 5th is pretty good because you have no one on first or second team, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that because really I think the preseason first, second, third teams, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, not the A-10, like in basketball. I don't mind the rankings. You know what I mean? Like the ranking. I think the rankings are good talking points. I don't mind that. But I love the first string, first team, second team, third team. I'm like, really? Like some of these guys, you're putting freshmen on these and you have no clue how the hell they're going to transition into the college world. So, yeah, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless. But again, Dayton finished predicted to finish 5th in the A-10 preseason poll of coaches and media. St. Bonaventure was picked first, followed by Richmond and St. Louis. So there's that. But again, the 2 Flyers were named to the preseason all A-10. That Tumani Kamara and that Mustafa Amzil, who we got to see a lot of last year, were both named to the 3rd team as far as that goes.
The season is here.
That's all that matters. Ohio State tonight. They tip off an exhibition play. Wright State tomorrow. So there's that.
How you feel about these exhibition games? Do you think they should be playing like other Division I teams and things of that nature? Or are you cool with them playing like D3 teams?
Isn't that a rule? Like I don't think you can't do an exhibition.
Oh, really? Didn't know that.
Yeah, like so. Look, people, it's a home game. It's an opportunity to play in front of fans again. And in years past, I hate exhibition games. I don't care about them. This year, they mean a little something. You could tell that there's a buzz in the city for an exhibition game tonight. UD is playing Cedarville. And no, not one UD fan is excited about the game itself. What every UD fan is excited about is we get to put 13,000 asses in those seats at UD Arena. That's what it is. There's a buzz in the city today for an exhibition game, and I love it. I'm all for it. I love college basketball season. I love the overlap with college football and the NFL. Hockey's well underway. The NBA is already underway. You got the World Series right now. It's a great time to be a sports fan. Like if you're bored, if you go home at night as a sports fan and you say you're bored, I don't know what to tell you. But 518-1410, 518-1410. I've had this Bengals-Browns graphic up for those watching and hanging out live on Facebook and YouTube, which we appreciate you. Jake Mellon on Facebook says that he agrees that the preseason ranks are meaningless. I'm pretty sure Dayton wasn't even picked first in the A-10 a couple seasons ago when they wound up 3rd in the nation. And that's a very good point as well. I don't remember where they were picked to finish a couple years ago with that Obi Toppin year, but that's because of that damn leap that Obi took from one year to the next. Remember a couple years ago, I did that. I said Joe Burrow was the Obi Toppin in college football. Because Joe Burrow's first year at LSU, it was just okay. He was solid. Wasn't great. Obi's first year with Dayton, solid. Not great. Good. Highlight guy, big dunks everyone talked about. And then that very next year, I've never seen anyone improve so much from one year to the next. I've never seen a college basketball player like Obi Toppin that went from good, very good, to best player in the country. Joe Burrow, the same thing. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen a player go from just an okay quarterback who had a 5th round draft grade to Heisman winning, number 1 overall pick, national championship winning quarterback. I've never with him, I've never seen a guy go from just average to okay to great like we saw in Joe Burrow in college football. It was the equivalent to what we saw with Obi Toppin. I thought there was a lot of parallels there, and I thought Dayton had a good chance to make a run to the Final Four and win a national championship. We'll never get to see if that story would have capped off the way Joe Burrow's did, but I thought there was a lot of parallels. I know it's weird crossover from basketball to football, but can you think of any players like Obi Toppin or Joe Burrow because we've seen players like Mac Jones who was a backup one year and then Heisman winning national champion the next year, but we can't compare 1 year's worth of play to the next because But Burrow was the starter for a full year at LSU. He was just okay. Nothing great, nothing fancy. No one never thought he was going to be a star in the NFL. And then that big-ass jump he took from one year to the next. Never seen anything like it. Never.
I would say probably
Spencer
RG3.
Rattler did the opposite thing. Like
I would probably say RG3 from his sophomore year to his junior year. You know, he won the Heisman as a junior, then went on to be a first-round pick and everything like that. So, like, I just remember, like, RG3 at Baylor was like, oh, man, yeah, he's that track guy that plays quarterback at Baylor. And then that next year, like, oh, he's more than that. He's an actual quarterback. And then he parlayed that into winning the Heisman and then being drafted first overall. I was going to say Russell Westbrook, but man, I don't even think he got any run as a freshman at UCLA, if my memory serves correct. And then that sophomore year on that Final Four team, he was crazy, but I didn't expect him to be a Hall of Fame NBA player. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and the reason too, I keep bringing up Joe Burrow and Obi Toppin, the similar parallels, is because it's not like freshmen to sophomores, where it's not like Obi Toppin had 8 minutes of playing time as a freshman,
significant minutes,
and then jumps up to 30 minutes the next year, 40 minutes the next year, and then that's why his numbers improved. He was the same. He had the same role, but 2 years in a row, and just massively improved. Joe Burrow, the same thing. He was the starting quarterback for LSU, and just, I mean, took that that huge step forward. So yeah, I always look at those two and compare them as far as that career growth in college, just to go from where they were. Obi, same thing. Late round draft pick, was not being viewed as anything special in the draft, and then all of a sudden he's in the lottery. And he goes number 8 overall to the Knicks. His role slightly expanded. Have you noticed Coach Thibs, the first couple games, used him different? He had a career high 14 points last week, and he's still being, his numbers they're slightly improved by a couple points. He had that career high 14 points last week. Thibs ain't budging though, and we figured he wouldn't. That's why we did that over under last year. I said over under one game for Obi Toppin in a Knicks jersey moving forward. I said under. I thought for sure he'd be traded. I think he was close. There was the Cavs rumors when Sexton was looking to be moved. I don't think the Cavs looked at that as an equal trade. No, I'm not ripping Obi. I'm just saying, but it wasn't. It was not an even trade if you look at how that was set up. I don't know. I think, but Obi's solid for who he is in the NBA. I think what's hard for Flyers fans who were used to seeing him as the guy in Dayton, he's a very, very good guy for the Knicks, but he's not going to be the central part of that core of the success of the turnaround in New York. But man, coming off the bench, providing those highlights in front of a packed Madison Square Garden, knocking down some threes when called upon, highlight dunks. He's made some big blocks. He's actually, what people talked about his flaws defensively, still why he's not getting a lot of playing time, but he's made some quality blocks too.
Yeah, I saw a couple. I saw the game from the Bulls game, and they're kind of using him, or maybe he's just doing it because that's what he's more comfortable with. Almost like a safety, like he's not guarding a player, so to speak. They're almost playing like a zone type of defense, and he can roam and use that athleticism to, block shots at the rim.
They bait you into the rim.
Yeah.
They purposely open up defensively. They want you to drive into the paint because then they collapse on you. And Obi's big size. I mean, so those guys undersized, but he has long arms or whatever. But like they bait you into the paint. They bait you into certain lanes, and then that's when they collapse down, and that's how you get those help side blocks and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, if you can block Zach LaVine going to the rim, you're doing something. I mean, one high flyer versus another high flyer.
7-footer, 9-footer with his hands in the air.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to see, man. So he's playing some good basketball, accepting his role. A lot of guys that get drafted high like he was, they want to be the guy off the rip and, have all the accolades and everything like that. He's accepting his role and playing his role. I mean, I think he's shooting like somewhere around 60-something% because, I mean, running the floor, dunking, and shooting open threes.
But even if that's in, like, I get tired. I've unfollowed so many UD fans on Twitter because they're unbearable. They're more unbearable with Obi Knicks takes than they are about who UD is as a basketball program. Like, I can deal with passion with the Flyers program, but I can't deal with, man, Coach Thibs don't know what he's doing. Like, Coach Thibs don't know what he's doing because he's not using a role player correctly. Like, stop. Like, again, this goes back to coaches don't purposely sit bad players at the expense of their job. Like, Obi is, if this is who Obi is the rest of the way, you know how hard it is to play in the NBA, to have a sustainable career in the NBA. Obi's going to have a long career in the NBA. I promise you that much. 518-1410. Jake Mellon says, I'd definitely say Obi gets picked higher than 8th to the Knicks, assuming he dunks all over people's heads and led UD to a Final Four. Huh?
What happened here?
Jake, I don't know what you mean. What did you think I said that you came back with that? That makes no sense. Jake, reiterate that. I have no clue. That UD led who to a Final Four? I have no clue what you're talking about. Anyways, 518-1410. We've talked Browns, Bengals today. To recap on that, and I don't want to spend a lot more time on that. I do want to get into college football for a little bit. The reason we don't do a ton of college football on Mondays, it's usually NFL heavy, coming the day after the Browns and Bengals play. Tuesday is usually when we ramp up our college football stuff, mainly because the fact that the first playoff poll comes out tomorrow, which that's going to be pretty exciting as well, because I think that in years past, we knew what the first four was going to look like, right? Like we knew. Right. I have no clue this year. It can go a lot of different ways. It can go a lot of different ways as far as that goes. Let's see who we still have. Do we still have who's on line 4? Charles, I know we've been jerks, man, but you still there? I didn't think so. 518-1410. Let's go to this Jerry. Jerry, how are you?
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
There it is. Yeah. Gentlemen, every time. I'm good. You?
Okay. Oh, I'm hanging in there. Hey, so since you're getting into a college, I got a disagreement with what you and Keith were saying Sunday morning. I don't think Ohio State should be in the top 4 right now. They could be by the end of the year, but I don't know, guys. I mean, that Penn State win, I don't know how good a win that really was. I think Penn State, it's entirely possible Penn State's going to end the year at 7-5. And other than that, we beat up on a bunch of tomato cans and lost to Oregon. Like if I was putting my top teams out there, it would be Georgia, Michigan State, Cincinnati, and this is I rank them by quality of wins, by the way. Oklahoma, just because they're undefeated. Oregon, Bama, and Ohio State. That would be
why Bama in front of Ohio State?
Well, they did beat Ole Miss, and their loss was to a good Texas A&M team on the road.
Texas A&M team.
Well, but I will say this: if you put A&M and Oregon on the same field, I don't know who wins that game.
Okay.
And it was on the road. I mean,
okay, and that's fair. Listen, you said you had your top 4 based on the quality wins.
Quality wins.
Now, plural, correct? More than one?
Well,
so Cincinnati.
Michigan State beat Michigan. That's a great win. Cincinnati beat Notre Dame. That's better than any win Ohio State has right now, right?
Yes. I mean, Penn State has 2 losses, so I can't
hasn't lost a game yet. They're undefeated. I mean.
Okay. Look, that first 4 actually could be a very realistic one. I don't know why I'm getting all salty with you, Jerry. You're pissing me off because you're not giving the Buckeyes love. You're crapping on Ohio State, and usually I'm the one that's anti-homer. You're doing exactly what I normally like, but I just don't think there's 2 teams that are playing better football right now than Ohio State, Georgia. Kev, I'll let you kind of chime in on this too. Like you don't even have Ohio State in your top 4.
No, I got Ohio State at 5.
So why, man?
Oregon beat Ohio State. So,
but Oregon also has a loss, so I can't put them ahead of Ohio's. Like I know the wins matters, but like there has to be something to be said about the loss kind of taking away some of that win, and wins matter. That's why Oregon's still in the conversation despite the loss. But Ohio State's loss is better than Oregon's loss, and it was a 1 possession win for Oregon. Like this is why I love the playoff, man. There's so many. It's literally we're nitpicking.
Oh yeah, we're definitely nitpicking. I love it.
This year's the best one though. This is the best year for the playoff.
Watching that game on Saturday, It was illuminating that, man, yeah, we were playing a bunch of bums. We were playing a bunch of bums because the same things, the same issues that we were having on defense came to light in that game. Like zone defense wasn't that good in this past game. The D-line made some plays for sure. They're still playing better. Obviously, the scoop and score by Jerron Cage was huge. It was awesome to see the big man moving down the field. He probably played tight end in high school too. But I just saw stuff like that I wasn't pleased with. A lot of I don't even know the right word to say. The commitment to the run really wasn't there the way I like to see Ohio State play ball. A lot of deep shots as opposed
Henderson
to
finished 150.
Did he?
Yeah. But to be fair, he had 6 yards in the first half. So to that, I mean, and here's the deal when it comes to that, like, so the defense, you're talking about Penn State's offense having success against the defense. Well, the reason the defense didn't look as sharp as in weeks past, they're playing a much better competition. Penn State's quarterback, Clifford, when he's healthy, like that's who Penn State is when he's healthy, when they're rolling. So the 2-loss Penn State coming in was a little deceiving because they haven't been the same without him. And even last week, as banged up as he was, apparently he's just magically better against Ohio State. I don't know. But like that Penn State offense,
you know that's where I was going to go.
That Penn State offense with him is a much different animal.
Absolutely.
Him. Well, and in college football, the offense always wins more. So it's like I get what you're saying, but I don't know if it was the same issues that popped up. I just think Ohio State's vulnerable in those situations, but I don't think there's a team out there that's always going to stop every single one of those. I don't know.
Well, let me run this by you. So, all right, so we were 1 for 6 in the red zone. Now, when we play really good teams, that's not going to fly
at all.
We weren't able to convert 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We couldn't even get a yard when we needed it. Their defensive line outplayed our offensive line for
that's
most
why
of that
that's
football.
why I was kind of mad because
I mean
I expect our offensive line to mash folks. You know what I'm saying?
And I've seen Sean Clifford healthy play against Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And to my memory, he didn't play very well against that team. They needed like missed field goals and all kinds of craziness to beat Wisconsin that day.
Fair enough. Good comeback. I usually don't tell you that, Jerry. You drive me nuts. You know that. But I will say good one on that. Now, I also can refute that too. I'm not going to Ohio State's defense, I can't sit there and say that that's why I'm going to hold them out when Oklahoma gives up all the yards and points that they do. Alabama has been giving up a ton of points and yards the way that they have. Georgia is the only good defensive team in the country. Cincinnati statistically, but if Cincinnati played, if they played SEC offenses and stuff like that, if they played Ohio State, Alabama's offense, their defensive numbers would look very suspect compared to the other teams we're talking about.
Agreed.
I'm not saying defense doesn't matter because it does, but I mean, outside of Georgia, Kev, there's no team playing defense in the country right now. Statistically, you can say Cincinnati, but again, you got to look at the full body of teams that they've played compared to others as far as there's a difference in the offensive firepowers that Ohio State and others are playing versus them. Again, Ohio State's schedule's been weak. I can't say that, though.
Yeah, that's the thing I was kind of angry about. I wasn't expecting a 70-point blowout against Penn State, but what I wanted to see is that same efficiency carry over to this game. And I just didn't see that. Now, it's a game, Penn State came to play too. And being in the 5th spot right now, not a bad thing, because guess what? If they went out, they're in. It don't matter what I say, you say, anybody say. Ohio State went out, they're in the college football playoff.
Cincinnati looked like garbage this past weekend. They better not be in the top 4. I'm just going to throw that right there right now. That team makes me angry. They got 2 up. I got the Navy thing because, they control the clock with the run game, blah, blah, blah. Tulane. If Ohio State struggled against Tulane, we'd kill them.
They beat them more than Oklahoma did.
And Oklahoma is not a playoff team either. They are because they're undefeated right now. But I mean, at the end of the day, that team's going to lose at some point. They've been flirting with disaster. They've been lighting the fireworks in their hands. They've been flirting with disaster all season. But
does it come against Oklahoma State? Because that's my wish.
Hopefully,
or Baylor, Baylor.
But Jerry, we got another call. Finish your point. We got to get to the next one.
I think Ohio. Let's be honest. I agree with you totally. I think Ohio State's the better team in the conference, and if they win it, they're in. But right now, I would not put them in. That's just my point.
Fair enough. All right, Jerry. Good stuff, man. Take care.
Later, guys.
Look, and if this is the case, if we're going to start doing this with Cincinnati, Ohio State, cancel Texas, cancel Notre Dame. Don't put one more tough team on your schedule because Ohio State's a victim of challenging themselves in the non-conference. You pick up that line. That's why it's not worth it. I'll take playing Miami of Ohio or Bowling Green in the non-conference. Load it up. Don't play one good team in the non-conference anymore. Seriously, I'm over that. If we're going to start holding that loss against Ohio State like that, a one-possession loss against a top 10 Oregon team, then don't play top 10.
You acting like people got them at 20.
No, because it's BS while you're keeping them out. And Cincinnati, who's played nobody. Now, they played Notre Dame and beat them. I get that. But, literally, they're nobody. And then the nobodies that they're playing, they're struggling with those nobodies. I could forgive them for the Navy one. I'm not going to forgive them for this past week. And, by the way, I was listening to the Cincinnati game on the radio. Dan Horde and the broadcasters and all of them, they were even saying, this just isn't enough. This is not enough. They even kept acknowledging it. I'm not hating here. Their broadcasters, they got to get a score. I know they can hold the ball right now. Like they were criticizing Fickle down the stretch, not criticizing. They're like, I really hope Fickle keeps his foot on the gas here. They can't just eat time. They got to keep putting points up on the board. Like they were acknowledging it too. So it's like, yeah, I'm not hating on the Bearcats, but like you can't win like that. You got to blow them out. We've talked about it ad nauseum about why it sucks. But regardless of whether it sucks or not, you still got to do it. And that's I think the pressure of having to blow teams out is it's getting to them because
exactly. I agree 100%.
It is because they're overthinking it. Like, man, we can't settle for a field goal here. We got to put 7 points up on the board. Like you could tell when it comes time to kicking a field goal, they're
and their
fighting.
kicker stinks too.
Yeah, they're fighting it. But oh man, we got to step aside for a few. 518-1410. Who is on hold, Kev? Jay. I'll go to Jay. Let's go to Jay. Jay, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Okay, a couple things real quick. I think the guy that said about Obi maybe being drafted higher meant he might have been drafted above 8 if they would play the NCAA tournament and if Dayton would have made the Final Four.
Fair.
I think that's what he was trying to get to you.
I think Obi, and that's fair. And he did message back and clarified. I think so I have to go back and reread it. With that being said, though, we know Obi's really good, but I didn't think. I think Obi went where he probably should have, and I think he is who he is in the NBA. And I don't know, people get mad at me when I say that, but he's a very good NBA player. I don't know why people think that he's like an all-star waiting to happen. I just think that he's a very exciting player. I think he's playing real well. I'm not like diminishing the kid at all. I think he's doing well.
Yeah, I think in his career when he's done, I think he's going to be between a 14 and 18 point a night guy when he starts. Great guy to have as your number 2 or 3 option.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be a Jordan type number 1 option. No.
But he's super exciting, man. I think he's perfect
athletic.
for Madison Square Garden. That place, I mean, they go every time he slams one in, man, that place goes nuts. Like most places would. Like it's just more special in New York. Like,
yeah, he's a New York kid, so that's really good. Kev said something about that's my pet peeve about Division I basketball. You know, he asked about why they don't play Division I exhibition games. They can't. You're right, and I've got to start. I'm not to piss you off about Wright State because I've got season tickets to both.
I'm already fuming.
I hate when Division I basketball teams schedule Division II and III in their regular season.
That's fair.
It's a slap in the face to the season ticket holder to do that.
I would. So, do you feel that same way when Ohio State? Well, this has been a long time ago. Like I remember not even a couple years ago, quite some time ago, when Ohio State had Youngstown State on the schedule.
No, that's fine. They're a Division I basketball team.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about football.
No. I'm talking about basketball.
No, I'm just saying. Do you feel the same way when football teams do that? Like,
yeah,
as well.
Ohio State shouldn't be playing a Division II or Division III or a Dayton in football.
I like your reasoning because as you are a season ticket holder, you're spending a lot of bucks probably for 2 seats, and you're expecting to get some high quality basketball, high quality entertainment. And yeah, I'm with you. I understand that.
I don't care if you throw in, and I'm not going to say Miami of Ohio the way Karen picks on that team. if you throw in the team ranked 320th in Division I, they're a Division I basketball team. Yeah, I mean, I don't care if you throw them in there. It's better than playing, an NAIA or division, playing Findlay. Findlay's a great basketball program up there, but I don't want to see them on my Division I team's schedule.
So, and Jay, I will say this. I didn't know where you were going to go with that when you said you were worried about ticking me off. I love Wright State, but trust me, that's one of the biggest pet peeves I have about their scheduling at times. But then it's a double-edged sword because they're either going to get ripped for not having enough home games for their fans to attend, or they're going to get ripped for that team that's put on because the other program in town's a coward and won't play them. So that and there's what I mean by that is there's too many programs that find reasons not to play Wright State, like getting home games. That's why when Neil Sullivan says that for the Flyers, like he talks about it like they're so like such a prestigious program that no one, man, when you're us, when we have the success we have, no one wants to come play here. Well, no one wants to go play at the Nutter Center either. No one wants to go play at mid-major basketball programs' home floors. That's why it's tough to get home games. So the Nutter Center, I get it. Like with Wright State, it's tough for them to be able to get home games because no one wants to come play them. They could play all they want on the road. Everyone's welcoming them in there. They won't welcome. No one's coming to the Nutter Center, so they're like, well, we got to give our fans something, and that's usually what ends up happening, unfortunately. And they don't have the budget to pay teams to come play them either. Like UD could pay a bunch of teams to come play them to fill up UD Arena. And the Flyer fans, 13,000 it's a sellout tonight for an exhibition game against Cedarville. Like the Flyer fans are different than most fan bases at this level of basketball because they're going to fill up UD Arena regardless of who they're playing. It's not about who they're playing. It's just about seeing the team. And that's what's special about UD basketball.
Sure. Yeah, you and I have discussed the reason why Wright State and Dayton don't play. You know, it's a business decision. It's not being afraid. It's just a pure business decision.
Well, there's no business. I mean, it is afraid.
No, it's not.
It is.
No.
They're afraid. Even if it's saying it's business is a cute way of saying, oh, they're afraid of losing, which is dumb. There's not a loss to Wright State does nothing to them. It doesn't. But to them, it does. And that's why they've justified it as a business decision.
Oh. Saying it doesn't do something to them is being a little closed-minded because it does.
So if UIC beats, UIC plays at UD next week, are they gonna? If they lose to UIC, what will that do to them?
Well, sure, it hurts. If they lose to a low RPI team, it hurts. Now, you also take if I'm going to play UIC or if I'm going to play Youngstown or if I'm going to play whoever that's out of my recruiting area and also out of my district that I'm fighting for the entertainment dollar, that's a different loss than losing to the guy next door.
But like if Wright State wins, what player is all of a sudden going to say, like Deron Holmes, man, F the Flyers, man, I'll go Raiders. I'm Team Raiders. Like that doesn't happen. Like there's not an example of that ever happening in the Raiders that beat the Flyers on multiple occasions.
Sure they have, but it's also the same reason why Xavier doesn't want to play Dayton. You're in the same recruiting area. They don't want to give justification to the Flyers when they're in the Big East now. When they were in the same conference, it was fine. Cincinnati doesn't want to play them. Same thing.
But this is why I say that the program acts like cowards because Ohio State has a pair. They're not afraid to play Cincinnati. They're going after the same players, but they're so confident in who they are that they'll go play at Cincinnati. They'll play, play Dayton. They've even said, I know they will play Dayton, but Dayton wanted something in return, and that's not what Ohio State's going to do for that program in the A-10. But we've seen it. Cincinnati is doing a 4-game series with Northern Kentucky, and 2 of those are going to be at Northern Kentucky. So programs who feel confident in who they are willing to do that. Confident programs who have an identity crisis end up having very weird reasons for not wanting to play. Those same reasons exist for Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky that exist for Wright State and UD.
Wright State has been told multiple times, we'll play you at our building. And we'll pay you more than you make at your home games.
I don't know who's told you that, but I know from the program itself that that's not the case.
The guy who told me that made the offer.
I disagree. Because listen, we can go back and forth of I know people that you don't know and you know people I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if I'm coming across all rude to you, but it's a sensitive issue to me because, I just want it to happen.
Justin, it doesn't hurt my feelings when you come across rude because when I call, I expect it. So it's not.
I don't know if that was a compliment or not. That wasn't.
It's not like it's ever going to hurt my feelings. I got really thick skin and water rolls off my back pretty well.
There you go. So you're like the Ohio State basketball of the conversation. Some guys call in as the UD basketball of the conversation. They don't have thick skin. So there you go.
But I was born and raised in this town, so I've seen them both come up.
Yeah.
I've seen the best of both. I've seen the worst of both. So, it's great for the city. I would love to see Wright State get back to where they're a top 50 RPI team. It would be great to see that.
I think UD needs to get back to a top 50 RPI. They haven't been top 50 RPI outside of the OB year. It's been a while.
Archie had a few years up there.
Archie, I'm talking about, Anthony Grant was supposed to come in and take the program to the next level outside of that OB year. It's been very just average. It's a lot of NITs. Wright State can live in the NIT. So that UD should be doing more than what Wright State's doing. Yeah,
you're right. It was 2 years ago that they had a top A10 ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
3.
Man,
that was a magical year, man. That was
Yeah.
special.
Absolutely. And, when you lose that core of that group, which you lost 3 very important players to that group, the next year you're going to have a little bit of a bounce. This is the year you'll find out what.
Not when you had Jalen Crutcher and Ibby Watson and Shamunga. You had, a good core. I wasn't expecting them to be, top 10, but the fact that they couldn't even compete in the A10, that's kind of concerning.
I thought they would finish top 3 in the A10 that year, maybe. I didn't think they would win it. And I think the year that Obi was a sophomore, I think they were picked first or second in the A10. But that's beside the point. This year we'll find out more. This year's team is athletic. They're long. They play multiple positions. This team fits into, Coach Grant's style. We'll find out more this year about his coaching ability.
Good stuff, Jake. Keep calling, man. I like the back and forth. I really do. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Adios. Well, you don't have to apologize for being rude. I know you're rude. Oh, he's not wrong. I mean, I have to work on myself, but as I've said before, there's not a psychiatrist out there. In fact, that's a challenge. If there's a psychiatrist out there that would love to take on a challenge, come and find me. I don't think there's a talented enough psychiatrist out there that can help me. Therapists, psychiatrists, don't matter. And you're laughing because you agree. You're like, yeah, it's going to.
Yes. I was trying to think of something snarky to say, but there's nothing else. Like, yes, you're right. I do agree.
There you go. Phil Lassiter says season ticket holders get 6, maybe 7 games a year to attend football wise. Why would they want to watch a top 25 team play a lower tier program only to watch a blowout? What? Season ticket holders get 6, 7 home games a year to watch football. Anyways. Well, for one, we're talking about business reasons. There's a reason that these Alabamas, Ohio States, and others don't want to continuously put Oregons and LSUs and Notre Dames and Texases and all that. Like Ohio State doing that, they don't have to do that. They do that. They enjoy the challenge of going on the road and having a big home game at the shoe and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, like they could put more of those teams on. They don't. It's dumb to do that because then when you lose a 1-possession game against a top 10 team, people try to hold it against you as opposed to playing Cincinnati's schedule. And there you go. Like Ohio State might as well just join the American Conference. I feel like when the American Conference is looking for teams, Ohio State should have said, well, since you're losing one Ohio team, we should join that because we would love to play nobody, be undefeated, and have everyone say we should be in the playoff. So there's that. All right. We'll be back, I think.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This